Conway. Let me welcome you real quick. I got a fantastic guest. Some of y'all who are on time, you got a sneak peek. But those of you who are filtering in of the live, we are live on Facebook, multiple Facebook groups, and the YouTube channel today. I'm super excited for day 2 of our Building Wealth Together Women Building Wealth Together conference. Some of you might notice we have been calling it the Women's Wealth Summit. And in fact, the domain name to go register is indeed womenswealthsummit.com. So if you are watching me today and you're like, oh, JJ's got a summit that I haven't been participating in, well, then I want you to head on over to womenswealthsummit.com. Let me put that up on the screen here. womenswealthsummit.com, so that you can get your downloadable book and so that you can get access to over $500 worth of free swag just by clicking the ads of each of our speakers. All right. Very exciting. Very exciting. So yesterday was day 1. We did a lot of mindset work. We did a little bit of hands-on equipment, but let me tell you, today is all content, no fluff, nitty gritty how to do it. So yesterday we kind of cleared our mind of some of these old stereotypes, broke down some of these cultural issues regarding women and money, and we established a foundation that you and I can win with money. And I've got for you to kick us off this morning one of my favorite speakers to bring to the stage. She is just such a light, y'all. She really is. Her name is Natalie Lavelock. Let me get her back up here on the screen. And let me tell you a little bit about Natalie Lavelock. She is a speaker, best-selling author, program development specialist, online business strategist. Now, look, not everybody can help you strategize both your physical business and your online business activities, right? She got over 20 years of experience in program development and professional training. And here's the thing that I really love. This is what I love, y'all. She partners with faith-based and purpose-driven coaches and speakers who want to make an impact, who want to create high-ticket, high-value programs that transform lives so you can build a business and life you love. Doesn't that sound a lot like what I want you to do, is to become financially free so that you can build a life that you love? Oh, we're all in this. And I love the fact that she's serving faith-based people, because a lot of times we think that poverty and lack and misery is a sign of faith. And neither one of us today look like we are in poverty, lack, or misery. So Natalie, welcome to Women Building Wealth Together. Welcome to our Women's Wealth Summit. How are you doing today?
Thank you, JJ. I am doing absolutely amazing. And can I just say, you and I, we've been doing things like this for about 2 years now. And I've really gotten to know your heart for women, your heart for serving women and helping them to break out of that poverty mindset and the poverty, like, financial set, right? It's not just the mindset. It's some of the struggles that we're having to deal with. And I so appreciate your heart. And so anytime that I get to share the stage with you, it is an honor and a pleasure. So thank you very much for having me as your guest again.
Thank you. Well, I told the audience a little bit about you. Can you fill in some of the gaps? Can you tell us a little more about yourself and what led you to this kind of a business?
Absolutely. So we're going to have to rewind the tape here. A good 7 years. I'm a registered nurse by trade. I have a master's degree in nursing education. And as you mentioned, for over 20 years, it was my job to develop training programs and to train doctors and nurses at the bedside, so that when lives were on the line and they had to jump into action, they knew exactly what to do, how to do it, and they could save lives. So that's what I did for the majority of my career. I also had the opportunity to develop some courses for a school of nursing. So training, coursework, that's something I've always done. But about 7 years ago, there were 2 things that happened. So I'm going to give you 2 storylines all in one. The first storyline is I was given an opportunity to move into a management position. We'd done a lot of things at the organization that I worked for. We'd achieved some pretty prestigious designations for the work that we'd been doing. And I helped them open up a new service line for the organization to generate revenue that didn't exist before. So we were really rocking and rolling. And they decided they were going to offer me a management position, which is great. That's something that everybody wants to work towards, and it's the next rung on the ladder, and it's the pay raise, and it's the office, with the view and all of that kind of stuff. Everything that the world says is good, right? Second storyline. About a year before that happened, I started feeling this unsettling in my gut. And I didn't know what it was, but all I could say was I felt like God was calling me to something more. I didn't know what that was going to look like. I didn't know how it was going to shape up. But I knew God was calling me to something different, something more. And so, I just kind of kept my ear open throughout that year. And then this management position opens up and they're like, Natalie, we want you to do this. And initially I was elated, like I said. But then as I started thinking about it, and having worked for this organization for over 15 years, I knew what happened to their managers. I had watched manager after manager after manager burn out. I knew, I knew that meant that not only was I going to be working a 40-hour work week, but I was going to be the first person they called nights, weekends, holidays. Anytime someone called in sick, it immediately fell on the shoulders of the manager. And here's the thing. It's not so much that the workload I was afraid, but it was that I had 3 little boys at home. And I believe that those 3 little boys are a gift from God. And being their mom, that's a job that only I can do. But I can't do that job if I'm constantly being called away, constantly having to go to the hospital, constantly having to miss out on some of the most precious, special, once in a lifetime moments of their lives. And I knew I needed to be at home, present, raising them if I wanted them to be the kind of godly men that I was appointed to do that job by God. And I couldn't do that if I wasn't there. And so that began my journey of, okay, how do we make this work, right? How do I start a business? And so I pulled from some of the skills that I learned in starting the business within the business for the hospital. And I looked at what are the skill sets? What are the gaps in the marketplace? What is it that people need? And so what I discovered was that in working with coaches and speakers, they are so passionate about what they do and they want to see lives change. They want to help other people in a big, big way, but they don't always know how to teach what they do in a way that makes sense for their audience. Their hearts are in the right places. Their desires are in the right places, but they don't always have the skill set to be able to teach in a way that people can understand. They can teach on different topics, right? But there's a difference between just, teaching on random different things and leaving a breadcrumb trail for someone to follow so that they get the knowledge and the wisdom and the expertise that you have as the business owner. And so after praying and fasting and really thinking about all these things, I decided to start my own business. And I know it sounds easy as I'm sharing that with you right now, but let me tell you, that was the hardest few days of my life. Because it wasn't just about making the decision to start a business, because that's fun, that's exciting, right? It was dealing with all the thoughts that went through my head, like, who do you think you are? You're just a small-time little farm girl from the middle of nowhere. What do you really think you have to offer? What kind of mother would leave safety and security to go chase a dream?
Oh, I remember those days.
Uh-huh. And I wish that it stopped there, but it got even worse. We went to the point of, your children are going to be homeless. Your children are going to be hungry because you're not going to be able to pay your mortgage. And when you're homeless out on the street with nothing to eat and your children are crying themselves to sleep at night, that's going to be all your fault. Oh, you know that little farm that your husband loves so much? That's going to be gone. Do you really think your marriage is strong enough to handle this? So those were some of the things that were going through my mind, and it almost derailed me. It almost stopped me in my tracks, except for there was another voice, and that voice came through, and that voice said, Natalie, take the leap of faith. Take the leap, because even if you leap and you fall, the safest place you're ever going to fall is into my arms. The safest place I could ever fall is into the loving arms of my Creator. And once I got my head wrapped around that, man, I was unstoppable.
Yeah.
And so for many of your viewers right now, you at home, are you in that place? Are you in that place where you feel like God's asking you to take a leap of faith? Maybe it's taking your business to the next level. Maybe it's getting your business off the ground. Whatever that is, take that leap, because I guarantee you, if God is calling you to it, he's going to see you through it. He's not going to let you fall. You can break every chain that is holding you back, that is holding you down, and you can take that leap of faith, because what I've learned is that God does not call the equipped. God equips the called. You may have heard that before, but I believe that with every fiber of my being, that if he has called you to it, he's going to equip you to do it. All you have to do is say yes.
Yes. I'm sitting back here having church. I'm just like, I just so resonate with everything that you're saying. And I remember those doubts. And when you started talking about the marriage, is your marriage strong enough for that? I remember thinking that to myself. Well, my husband says that he'll support me in starting this business and dropping down for a few years to subsist on his income while I get it off the ground, which it didn't take that long. It didn't take that long at all. But still, just that whole, is your marriage really strong enough for this? Or here's a fear that I had. And when you say take that leap of faith, I really had to believe that this is what the Lord called me to do. Because here's the fear that I had. He's going to bring you out to the middle of nowhere, Texas. You're going to start your own business. You're not going to have any kind of job. You got this late, oops, couldn't have kids. Now you got this other miracle baby. So I got 2 miracle babies, one in my 40s. And you're going to be out there in the middle of nowhere with no friends, no money, no nothing. Mm-hmm. And I was more scared in that moment to let go of the military career and do what God was calling me to do than almost anything else I've ever done. I think being falsely accused and facing jail time, that one was pretty scary. And I think being in a car accident where I'm in the emergency room and all the doctors are fussing around and I don't know what's going on, that was pretty scary. But this leap of faith, oh, that was a leap of faith. Because if it went south, I would have no one to blame but myself. Exactly. But I love how you said the safest place that we can fall is into his hands. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. All right. So how I was about to ask, how do we make this leap of faith? But I mean, you kind of outlined that making the leap of faith kind of requires building up a practice of faith. You said something. I don't know if you saw me backstage, but I was back here. I was clapping and you said prayer and fasting. And I said, whoop. Now there's something that a lot of us don't do. And I have come to really rely on fasting and prayer, especially how much scripture ascribes power to fasting. But how do we move forward when we're afraid of, how do we take that leap? I mean, it's really easy for me and you to be on the other side of it and say, trust God, he's going to take care of it. but how do we make that leap? And you've got a lot of audience here who's very excited for you today, and they are happy to be here with us today. So I'm sorry, I'm just like, I'm all in my feels right now, so I'm just gonna stop and let you talk.
No, that's beautiful. And how do you take that leap of faith? It starts on that journey. But here's the thing, JJ, I think recognizing that this is not the work we do. It's not just about building a business.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Our businesses as faith-based entrepreneurs, our businesses are holy. Our businesses are set apart. Our businesses are called for a higher purpose.
Yes.
And so I think when you start out with that, you build from a completely different place. All of the things that the world says are good, the way the world says to go out and build your business, go out and just like spam 50,000 people a day to build your audience. That's not how we do it. Mm-mm. You're a person. You have worth. You have value. You're not an object for me just to go rant at. You have dreams. You have desires. And it's my job as a business owner to connect with you and to build a relationship and to see how can we fan that spark into a flame. It's a completely different heart set. It's a completely different mindset than the way people do traditional business. And beyond that, when you see your business as set apart, that is set apart for a higher purpose, then when you are making money, you're going to use that money to do good. It's not just about lining your pockets, but it's about building your legacy. It's about who can I help and how can I make this last beyond my time here on earth?
I love that. I love that. I love that because somebody made a request through a Christian website that refers clients to me, and they said, "Well, my daughter doesn't want anybody who's going to preach at them." And the last two financial planners really started Bible thumping at my daughter, and I said, "Well, my personal goal as a holiness minister is to equip God's people, but I understand that this is a secular business." And I really believe that for some people, the only love of Jesus they're ever going to see all day is when they come into my office or come into my Zoom room. And whether they're talking about the Lord or not, I'm going to be a vessel of God's love to them and give them comfort and peace that comes through the Spirit that's coming through me. And then going to be able to be that door to open up to talk about the Lord. And it's amazing. It's like sometimes people just don't even know why they feel how they feel in your presence, and they don't know why they feel how they feel, or why they're comfort, or why they have the peace that they have. And so for me, it's like, okay, I don't have to preach at someone. I can be God's love to them. Now, don't get me wrong, I will preach in a heartbeat. That's something I'm called to do. But learning how to speak volumes without saying a word, and really, no kidding, being that love of God through my business. Like, my business is an avenue. And then what you reminded me was, even when I became a pastor, so I was a pastor for 4 years in Louisiana. And even when I became a pastor, and I was like, well, I'm not a singer. And, a lot of people who lead in the ministry, they're either a singer or their wife is a singer. And I'm not this, and I'm not this, and I'm not that. But what do? I teach, and I teach corporate classes, and I teach finance classes. So we started having those classes, and it brought people in. And that is just one of the ways that the Lord showed me that however he put us together, he knew that when he called us. He already knew our faults and frailties and failures, and he is already accounted for that, and has already put in provision to either work that out of us or to equip us with other people that can help us overcome it. And I'm laughing specifically for the audience who doesn't know. I'm laughing specifically because Natalie put me in contact with someone who is helping me organize my business, and she's got so many great ideas, and I'm like, praise God for her. Because I needed her in my life. I needed Jen in my life. Okay, so where do we go from here, though? Where do we go from here?
Yeah, I do want to touch on something real quick.
Okay.
And then we will move forward. But you were sharing. First of all, I think it's amazing that we have the opportunity to preach and teach at the same time. It's absolutely beautiful when it's done with the right heart and the right spirit. And I love that you said, I may be the only Jesus anybody sees. And it's not that you're wielding that over them. You're not lording that over them. You're not whacking them on the head with the Bible, but you're using those biblical principles, the principles of truth that are meant to help people in a way that they can receive it. And that is the essence, that is the beauty of what we get to do as faith-based business owners, is really shine that light. And JJ, I don't know if you have a practice or not, but one of my practices, and I did it this morning before I ever go on stage to speak, I just say, God, let your light shine through me today. Whether they work with me or not, whether I connect with them personally or not, just let them see your light through me today. Because that is the heart of what we do. That is the heart of why we have our businesses, is to shine God's light and give people hope.
Amen. Amen.
Yes.
Amen. So now I'm going to ask you another hard question. I'm going to ask you, it's not really hard for you, but I think for some of the audience today, it could be kind of hard when we talk about creating a business and life that we love.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us, especially in the faith-based realm, we might feel like that's a little bit entitled and that's a little bit ungodly. And who are we to create something that we love? And I would say now, as being a parent, I especially see it, because as a parent, I want my children to be happy. I want them to be well equipped. I want them, they do have to learn their own lessons, but I see now that, one of the reasons, when the Lord portrays himself as a father, he doesn't want us to live in misery day in and day out. And yet so many of us associate that with being godly and entrepreneurship. The common view of an entrepreneur that I see is burning the candle at both ends, never sleeps, living on coffee and Mountain Dew. And I'm like, that is not the abundant life that my Lord promised me and said that he came that I might have. So let's talk a little bit about really creating a life you love.
Yes. So to your last point, his word also says you can't serve both God and money. And so that's where the burning the candle at the both ends, that's where the hustle and grind, the staying up all night, all of that comes into play. Is what are we worshiping? Who are we following? Because if we're following God, then we're going to trust that he's going to provide for us. Now, I will say that doesn't mean you don't ever have a late night. That doesn't mean you don't ever have work to do, but that does mean that that's not the pattern. That is not the norm for your business practice. All right. So let's talk about, how do you build a business and life you love? It starts in the very beginning. I have a practice that I take my clients through. It's called their SPARK profile. And their SPARK comes from, I have a video that I actually show, and I wish I could share it with you right now. It actually shows the moment of conception. The moment of conception, when the sperm meets the egg, there truly is a spark that happens. And I believe that when that spark happens, that is when the divine download of everything, all of your skills, gifts, talents, abilities, the purposes for which you've been put on this earth, that's when those things are downloaded into the being that you're about to become. And so I walk with my clients through their SPARK profile so that they know there's a lot of things that we've learned here on this earth, things that we've been asked to do, things that we've been trained to do, that we can do them, but they lead to burnout. And we're not effective for the kingdom if we're in burnout mode. So I want you to learn what your spark is, so that when you're working with your clients, when you're building your business, you're doing it in a way that lights you up. You're doing it in a way that fans the flame of who you've truly been called to be, because it's out of the abundance that God's light is going to shine. And so when we're struggling, when we're operating kind of off of our mission, so to speak, that's when we start to feel the struggle. That's when things start to fall apart. That's where it gets really, really hard. But when we're operating in alignment with who God has called us to be, Ephesians 2:10 was the cornerstone of my business. For we have been created in Christ Jesus to do the work that he has established for us to do in advance. We are his masterpiece. We've been called to do something in light of who he's created us to be. And so if he has put that in us, when we're operating in alignment with that, then all we have to do is walk into our destiny because he's already set it up. It doesn't mean we don't get scared. It doesn't mean we don't have worries. But it means that if we will find the courage and have the faith to just take those steps forward and walk in the path that he's prepared for us, then we're going to experience the abundant life. So let's talk about practical, tactical, how do we get the business off the ground type of thing.
Yes.
So the first thing we talked about, uncovering your spark. The next thing that has to come with any business is we have to find a way to be seen. We have to look at who can we get in front of, who can we speak to. So there are many different ways that you can be seen. And here's another place where things go awry for people. You can find visibility strategies that align with who you are. I have a client right now who absolutely detests social media. Social media is one of the things that people are like, oh, you can't build a business if you're not on social media. You got to be on the Facebook and the things and all the things and the Twitters and the dancing and the, all that kind of crazy stuff. And she's like, not doing it. Her practice is filled out because she knows how to market in alignment with who God created her to be. And that is what sets her on fire. So you must be visible, and you can do it in a way that is in alignment with who God created you to be. The next thing is, once you have visibility, you have to have some way of showing people that they can connect with you. So you must generate leads. You must have a way to bring those leads into your business so you can have a conversation with them. Notice I'm not saying so you can sell them your stuff, because it's not just about selling the stuff. It's about having a conversation, building a relationship, and finding out, are you a good fit? Can you help one another? I always look for the triple win in my business. Is this good for you? Is it a win for you? Is it a win for me? And is it a win for the people that you're going to be serving? If it's not a triple win, it doesn't happen. All right. So get visible, get leads. And then number 3 is you must have a product suite that you can use to serve people at multiple different points. So one of the things that I work with my clients on is their $1 million product system, the programs and product that they have to have in place in order for them to be able to serve people. Paul, I believe, is the one that says, I have learned to become all things to all people. Well, when we translate that into our business, it's how can I serve people at every level? Yes, I want to serve at the highest level. I want to have these high ticket programs and products, but there are also people that we need to serve at the starter level because they're just starting. They may not be able to invest in themselves at that level. So how do we serve at every single level and make sure that those people are getting the solutions that they're looking for, that their lives are changing, that their lives are getting better? And it's more, you have to have more than just a one-off product. A lot of people, especially in this industry, they're speakers. And so they're like, hey, I have a book or I have a course. Well, you have to understand that books are great at giving information. Courses are great at giving information, but it can only go surface level. Getting the depth of transformation to truly change someone's life for the rest of their life is going to take something much more deep, impactful than just an online course or reading something in a book. So you do need to build out that product suite, that $1 million product system in order for you to have a highly profitable business. So those are the three things that I would say are most important for any entrepreneur who's getting started in business and or ready to take their business to the next level. And so when you create that product suite and you do it in an alignment with the spark of the divine spark of who God created you to be, then you're going to have a life that you love. You're going to have the time to do the things that are important to you. You're going to have the finances to invest in the change that you want to see in the world. But it has to be done in alignment. It has to be done in alignment with who you are, and it has to be done in alignment with who God's calling you to be in the work that he's calling you to do.
That's so important then to really understand who we are. And I'm going to have to see this Spark video, but because it really feeds into understanding who we are. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us, we do a lot of things for a lot of people that we don't even like or care for. And we do a lot of things to really put ourselves into where we think we're supposed to fit and where we think that others expect us to be and what we think will be pleasing to others. But then it's hard to build a genuine business that energizes you if you don't know who you are and whose you are. So this is wonderful. This is wonderful. We have an opportunity today to really do something that makes a difference. Mm-hmm. That's like that tagline. I was using it for a little while and then everybody kind of took it, but make money making a difference.
Yeah.
You know? And yeah. We have an opportunity to do that. And, you know, I want to encourage people, and I think that you've been encouraging people as well. Don't be afraid. If God has called you to do something, he's equipped you to do it. And I remember when I ran the numbers for the business and the retirement, and I called my husband and I said, the only thing that's keeping our family in two different states is my fear. Now, I didn't go into all those fears with him because I didn't want him to know I was afraid financially because I was still a little worried about letting go. But it was just a fear. And he's like, yeah, it's just, as I said, it's me. He said, yeah, it's you. And I was like, well, what do you want me to do? He's like, I'd kind of like my family to be together. And, you know, sometimes even when things go well, it can bring out so many fears. And so as we round out, I think I was getting a little too long to get to what I wanted to ask you. And that is, when I look at my journey, overcoming that fear, taking that leap of faith, and then discovering, wow, I've lost nothing. I've really lost nothing. Well, I'll tell you what I have lost. I have lost the motivation of looking good in my uniform. Because when you do Zooms all day, you don't realize what your bottom looks like. And I got a rude awakening when I got back on stage. I said, oh, we gotta tone it back down. But monetarily, family-wise, everything has been a blessing. I've been able to customize my business to my family life and been able to put my family first for the first time in my entire adult life. And it's been a blessing. But the other thing that happened, though, once I took that leap of faith to create this business and life that I love, then begin to come up all the roadblocks that I didn't know were in here.
Yes.
And that's when it takes time leaning on someone like coaches and advisors and folks who can help you think strategically to move forward. So can you talk a little bit? I know this is unscripted, but can you talk a little bit about something that a roadblock or two that someone would expect to find and how they can begin the process with someone like you of overcoming that roadblock? For me, the roadblocks were mainly mental, and it all stemmed from fear of abandonment, fear of another divorce, fear of everything in my life falling apart again. Like all of those fears came in, and I know a lot of people don't struggle with that kind of thing, but that's where my roadblocks come. Like, well, why don't I want to do this? Well, I'm scared, or I'm down, or my husband didn't come to this event. So what does that mean? Like all.
Yep. Here's the funny thing, and here's the thing that's going to make this so simple. Your sole problem is your sole problem.
Oh, I like it.
All right.
Let me put that in the comment.
Your soul problem, your SOL problem. If you're a business owner, your SOL problem is your soul problem. What does that mean? S, sales. O, offers. L, leads. When you have enough leads coming into your business and you have the right offers to work with those leads and you're making sales in your business, every other thing just kind of goes, psh. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough confidence. I just wrote a whole ton of these down because I'm doing a Spark Your Success Sprint for my clients this week. We're talking about all of this. Everything they brought up, everything that was mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, all the things that looked like giants to them. When you solve the soul problem, you're going to solve your soul problem. And your soul problem is the thing that's keeping you from fulfilling your soul destiny in life. So
let me get soul one more time because I think I put it up wrong. Soul, sales,
SOL, sales,
SOL.
offers, and leads.
Okay.
Okay. If you have enough sales, offers, and leads, you don't have a money problem. You don't have a time problem because you can hire people. You can build your capacity, right? Your confidence is boosted because you're seeing the value and that you're creating for people. Some people say, they're not clear on who they are and what they're doing. Well, guess what? When you have enough sales, offers, and leads, that clarity starts to come for itself. Okay. So when you solve that soul problem, everything else starts to fall into place and you discover that you are fulfilling your soul mission in life. Now, real quick, one other thing I want to share, because this is something else that I've been sharing with my clients this week. This is the chart of transcendence. This is the mind of Christ. So many times when we're dealing with those doubts, those insecurities, those fears, we are somewhere down here, probably in the emotional level. And so this is the different levels of emotions that we live in. And ultimately, we want to come up here because we want to have our mindset in alignment with God's mindset. Down here at the bottom, this is where we get into fear and guilt and anger and rage and grief and uncertainty and unworthiness and shame, and we're anxious and we're depressed. So why am I showing you this? I'm showing this to you so that you can see that when you're experiencing those fears, when you're experiencing those doubts, when you're experiencing those challenges, you can come to this and you can say, okay, where am I at right now? Oh my goodness, I am operating, I'm making decisions, I'm experiencing life down here at the emotional level. I can't get any further away from peace, love, joy, patience, kindness, gentleness, faithfulness than down here. What do I need to do? How can I get my mindset? How can I get my life back up here in alignment with what God says and who he says I am and who he says he is and what he wants for me? And a lot of this, being able to navigate this, some of it's just awareness, right? But really being able to instill this and live it out comes through the power of proximity. It comes through the power of being in the right rooms, being around the right kinds of people that can help. I never say call you out because I don't believe in calling people out. I do believe in calling people up. So they can help call you up to a higher level. They can help you stay on track. They're kind of like the safety guards or the bumper rails around your business, right? When you're trying to derail yourself, or whether you feel like life is trying to derail you, they come around and they provide that support and they say, okay, let's talk about this. Let's work through this. Let's get back on track. And let's make sure that you're not staying stuck down here in this emotional level. How can we get you lifted back up? Oh, you're muted, JJ.
That is so beautiful, and I cringe every time I'm muted when I've got the tech evangelist in the comments encouraging. But I love what you said here about how you like to call people up and not out, and I think I'm going to have to start keeping that mind frame of calling people up, because sometimes I'll joke I get paid good money to call people out regarding their how they spend their money, but no, we're calling them up. So I want to we're about at the end of our time here today, so I want to give you an opportunity to let folks know how to get a hold of you. If you saw my face backstage at one point, it's because I was trying to pull up your website to make sure I had it right, and I accidentally got somebody else's website that was not your website. Yeah, because there's a lot of love in the world, and so if you if you would let people know how to get a hold of you. I've put your main website up here, but if you would let people know how they can continue this journey, because your workshops and the things that you offer really help move people forward. And for me, what I really love is it helps people, move forward, but in a way that's consistent with their faith.
Yes.
And that's so important to me as someone who helps others in their faith journey, is that yes, you can have the success, this calling on your heart. You can achieve everything that the Lord has called you to in secular business as well as your spiritual walk, and you are somebody that can help people and equip them to be able to do so. So please do tell us a little bit about how we can work with you and any special programs that you have coming down the pike that we might want to participate in. And I will try to build the banners as you talk.
Okay. So one of the fastest, easiest ways to connect with me is just to go to callwithnatalie.com. That's the fastest way to jump on my calendar so that we can have a conversation. But I do have a gift for you, something I'd like to share. It's called $1 Million Lead Magnets Made Simple. It's a downloadable, and I believe that JJ and her team are going to put that in the chat and make that link available for you. But it's how do you build a high converting lead magnet so that you can get more leads when you're doing visibility events. Like this is a visibility event, speaking on someone's summit, speaking on a stage, speaking on a podcast. Those are all different ways that you can accomplish visibility. So I want you to have a high converting lead magnet so that you can bring more leads into your business. So they're going to put that link in there. When you download the $1 Million Leads Magnets Made Simple PDF, there's actually going to be a special little surprise on the back end of that. So I'm not going to tell you what it is, because I want to make sure that you open that email, that you get your download, and that you're watching the emails. But I'm going to tell you, it's an amazing, amazing opportunity. It's not going to cost you a dime, but you're not going to want to miss out on it. So be sure and get that download.
Let's make sure that link is up. There we go.
Yes.
NatalieLavelock.Karcher.com. Now I'm going to try and create another link for it, but just so we're here, tell us again what we're going to get at this link. We're going to get the $1 million leads made simple.
Lead magnets made simple. Yes, so that you can bring more leads into your business. You're going to have a high converting lead magnet. And there's a special bonus on the back end when you register for this. So you're going to want to check that out. But JJ, can I just share one more thing with your audience before we have to wrap this up?
Please, go for it.
And this is what I believe is a major game changer, because when we're building our businesses, it's easy to get caught up in the hype. It's easy to get caught up in shiny object syndrome. It's easy to get caught up in all the things we need to do. And one of the things that I believe propels you forward is understanding why you do your business. And I want you to know why I do my business. Yes. The reason that I have my business is because I believe that your life matters. I believe that your business, this is how I see it. Your business, the programs, the products, the services that you have to offer, they're a lifeline to someone in need. And so if you feel like you're being called, I believe that you are being called. And if you feel that, if you believe that you're being called, then I want to encourage you to step out in faith and to be that lifeline for those who need you the most. because I believe that your business is a lifeline. You are here to save someone's life.
And amen, amen, amen. You are here to save someone's life. Natalie, I want to thank you for being here today. We have your links here. I created a short link for folks, jjclink.com/Natalie. That will take you to the $1 Million Lead Magnets Made Simple with the special bonus gift. So don't be surprised if you see JJ Conway in your list of subscribers for today. And also, if you want to book an appointment with Natalie, you can do that at callwithnatalie.com. Natalie, again, thank you so much for being here with us today. And I just want you to know that I thank God for you, and I continue to keep you in prayer from time to time that your business will continue to be used for His glory. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, I am going to bring up, we have a fantastic guest speaker waiting in the backstage, and we're going to bring her up in about 10 minutes. But before we do that, I'm going to replay for you something that was very powerful, that was done for another project. And I'm a little bit hesitant because it's me, but I think it's something that we don't talk about enough as women. And so actually let me switch that. Let me just switch that around. We've got some more comments coming in. I want to go ahead and give Natalie her praise while we're here. Let me go ahead and bring these up here real quick. And then maybe I'll bring mine up later. But the thing is we don't talk about a lot of the tips and tricks. It's really easy to say, oh, just do this, oh, just do that. And Natalie gave you some really, really good tips and tricks. And the thing I was going to bring up for you, but now I'm realizing my talking is going to eat up the time, is about getting out of financial abuse. So if that's something that you are interested in, stay tuned, because I will rebroadcast it later, probably at the end of the thing. But Natalie, we've got folks coming in who just really appreciate everything that you've brought in, and really appreciate your light and your love that shines through. Okay, so my next guest is somebody that oh my goodness, I have been working with this woman for so long, and I almost feel bad every time I send an email, because if there's anybody who knows of the faults and frailties of my business, it's the person who crunches the numbers for the tax man about my business. And so, I try my very, very best to always be truthful when I do a broadcast. In fact, I had to come back a couple months ago and eat some words. Oh, Natalie's got another praise there. You've got to come back. I had to come back and eat some words because I thought I was going to sell a house. And a lot of these pre-recorded events, you record them 6 months to 8 months out, and then they air. And then I'm listening to me talk about how I'm completely out of debt. And I'm like, oh, but I still have that one house. The deal fell through. Their tenants didn't buy it. And I was like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. But y'all don't see that. So if I never told you it, you wouldn't know it. All you know is I'm living out here and I don't have no mortgage on my house, and it's a one bathroom house, no 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. But I'm really happy to not have a mortgage while we save up for the next house. And you guys hear that. You don't hear what goes on behind the scenes, right? And so I've always had this dance of, this is somebody who is really, really taking very good care of me. And I send emails, and they're almost always, I'm sorry I'm late, and I need you to work a miracle, and of this and this and that and that. And so I'm going to do better as a client. I'm making that a public declaration. But if you see my face, you can see that I'm super, super excited to bring this person to you today, because I am steady talking about my CPA, the wealth building CPA. And her name is Ebere Okoye, and she is operating out of, you're still in, well, wait, she's not even up yet. Never mind. I'll talk about that in a second. But the thing that I love that she does is, it's not just send me your receipts at the end of the year. I'll crunch some numbers, sign some paper, and pay me throughout the year. And I admit, I don't always take as much advantage as I should, but throughout the year, there's business planning opportunities. And I remember, I'm going to go ahead and bring her up while I'm saying this, so I don't forget to bring her up and then be like, where is she? Right. Let me add her to the screen. Hey, lady, I'm gonna just tell this story real quick, and then we're gonna introduce you. But I remember one time I remember one time I'm sitting in her office for my annual business review. This was, I mean, she's been doing my taxes since 2007. And I'm sitting in there and I got this big plan. Like, I'm going to write these books and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and this. And she's like, maybe you ought to just start here. And I was so deflated, y'all. I was so deflated. But from a tax perspective, she was like, well, you know, most of my clients do this, and then that. And that advice served me very, very well. And she has definitely served very well all these years. And so I'm super excited to bring to you all my CPA, the wealth building CPA, Ebere Okoye, from wonderful, wonderful Maryland, where it's a great place to be a real estate investor. How are you doing today?
Hi, JJ. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited.
Oh my goodness. I think about when I see all the things that you're doing in the community, and then I look at our two boys, the ones that we had in the back of Sherman Ragland's real estate meetings.
Yeah.
I think, wow, time has really flown, but we don't look like it. We look good, and we're doing great things for God's kingdom and for our family's financial future. So I want to welcome you today. I understand that you have a prepared talk for us today.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to just say one more time, I'm so excited that you're in one of my events, and I hope that everyone listens attentively. And now I'm going to turn the floor over to Ebere Okoye. Thank you so much for being here today. Oops.
You're welcome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Can everybody hear me? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully everybody can see it. And I will go ahead and make the presentation, and then I'll leave it up for questions at the end. All right. All right, so pretty much today we're going to be talking about the wealth building plan. As women, one of the most important things, of course, next to God, is to make sure that we are empowered to be able to care for ourselves and care for our loved ones. And so it's very, very critical in that everything that we're doing, that we have a plan laid out that's going to help us to build wealth. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a CPA active real estate investor and the founder of the Wealth Building CPA. I own real estate investments across 5 states in the Eastern Coast, helped over 5,000 people like you prepare taxes online and offline. And my greatest joy comes from helping clients, friends, and associates become free of financial stress. I've been in the industry for so many years, and familiar with money saving strategies, which we love to implement all of the time. Been a CPA 27 years and a real estate investor and business owner for 22 years. So with this combination, I'm able to work with a lot of women and bring them strategies that can help them build long-term, sustainable, transferable wealth. Okay, this is my lovely family. Of course, that's the little one where I had with JJ, and we had the babies at the back. All right. So today we're going to look at the wealth building plan. We have 8 stages of the wealth building plan. These are critical steps that you want to take yearly. These are things that you need to be looking at on a yearly basis if you want to build long-term sustainable wealth. So the wealth building plan is like a 12-month training program where we take you step by step through each step that is required to run a successful and efficient real estate business, or even any business in general. We've developed this system after years of working with business owners and investors on how best to use their professional skills, passion, experience to pursue their entrepreneurial dreams. So we focus on things like tax planning, tax preparation, entity structuring, business meetings. And at the end of 12 months, our goal and our hope is that you're able to operate your business successfully, but more than that, you're equipped. You know exactly what it is that you want to look out for to be able to build wealth. So let's dive right in. The first thing is the financial needs analysis. A lot of people overlook this step, like when they want to build wealth or when they want to start a business or if they want to invest in real estate. People just say, oh, I want to quit my job, or I'm going to quit my job tomorrow, or I want $1,000, I want to make $1 million, I want to go on vacation every week or every month, without necessarily doing a financial needs analysis. So for us, when you work with us, that's the first step, because we want to get crystal clear about what you want out of life and determine what you will and will not do in order to build your business. The other thing that we look at during this stage is the time. How much time do you have? How much money do you have? What are your skill sets? Because all fingers are not created equal. It's possible that I might have 20 hours a week to build my business, but then I also have a full-time job, or I might have 40 hours, or I might have $100,000 in the bank, or I might have nothing, or I might not even have the skill set and I need to get through a coaching program in order to get the necessary skill set. So the financial needs analysis is, first of all, taking a look at where you are now, looking at your assets, looking at your liabilities, the time that you have, the skill set that you have, the amount of money that you have. And then our job is to help you bring all those buckets together to come up with a plan that would be sustainable. So that 10 years from now, 20 years from now, you can look back and see that you achieved your goal. The stage 2, we look at tax planning and preparation. We look at your tax returns for the last 3 years, and we review it for accuracy and consistency, audit flags, overlooked deductions. And an important part of the reduction planning is not wasting deductions or making elections to take advantage of unused deductions. So there's a lot of deductions that are available for small business owners. There's a lot of loopholes that you can legally take care of to reduce your taxes. And that's what we do during this stage. Here we're doing like a post-pandemic analysis. We look at the use of how did you use your PPP loans for those that were unemployment, the IRA distributions. These are all things that are now playing a huge part, the stimulus checks, credits, what all those mean during your tax preparation. So at this stage, we're reviewing your returns and coming up with a strategy so that you don't pay more than your fair share of taxes. Okay. The next stage that we look at is entity structuring. Entity structuring is using your legal entity to provide asset protection and tax mitigation. So we usually look at 3 things when you're setting up an entity. We look at the legal liability, and then we look at the tax reduction strategies, and then the ease of compliance. So every entity structure is not created equal. You might start out with a sole proprietorship, and then you need to move to an LLC, then you might need to move to an S Corp, then we might need to consider bringing in a C Corp, and then we look at trust. So we look at, bringing attorneys who would help you look at the legal side, but then we also pay attention to the tax side. A lot of errors that we've seen people make when they are setting up their entities is that they're only focusing on one aspect. They're only looking at maybe just the tax side, or they're only looking at the legal side, or they're not even paying attention to the compliance, everything that you need to do on a yearly basis to keep that entity in good standing. So in this stage, we take a look at everything that you have entity-wise, assets, what you own, what your risks are, what you could be exposed to, what kind of taxes that you have to pay, and then come up with an entity structure that would maximize these 3 things for you. So some common mistakes that we've seen people make. Number 4 mistake is not having an entity structure that shields you. A lot of people have LLCs, but their LLCs are not really protecting them. And so we call that a toxic LLC. It's possible for you to have an LLC, but then your personal assets are still totally exposed. You might think, oh, I set this up and, oh, it's going to protect me. And then a lawsuit comes and you realize that here, the corporate veil can be pierced. So it's very important to make sure that an entity that you set up to protect you and shield you is actually doing that. So it's not just going to the state and registering and getting the EIN number. The operating agreement matters. The kind of assets that you have there, the businesses that you have, the kind of insurances that you put in place. All those matter. Not understanding the 2 types of creditors. There's a bottom-up creditor and then there's a top-down creditor. The bottom-up creditor has a claim of judgment against the LLC that is arising out of the company that rather than the omissions of the member. So it's very possible for you to set up an LLC, and that LLC will protect you from the top-down creditor, meaning they cannot come after you personally, but they can come after the LLC. And if the LLC has properties in there or assets or businesses, why do they need to sue you? They can sue the LLC directly and have access to whatever equity that you have here. So it's making sure that you understand the two types of creditors when you're setting up your entities. Okay. The next stage that we look at is actually now getting the businesses registered and setting up your bookkeeping. So we're going to look at the different stages that we use when we set up your business. So first of all, we have you fill out a business registration form, and then we submit it to the State Department. Once we receive that acknowledgement, we obtain an EIN number, and then with the EIN number and acceptance of filing, you open up a bank account. And then after that, you draft an operating agreement. We use one that has been prepared by your attorney. And then we look at cash sweep, which is all the expenses that you incurred prior to setting up the entity. In order for it to be deductible, you need to have those expenses showing up on your business bank account. And then we also look at the bookkeeping process. Some of the mistakes we've seen people make is when they use themselves as the resident agent, or you're using your home address when you register the business. So you want to make sure that if you really want to protect yourself, that you're not using your home address or using yourself as the resident agent when you do set up the business. The next stage that we look at is the business analysis meetings. Most privately held organizations have the alternative board, but most small business owners, mom and pop shops, it's just you wear all the hats. And so one of the things that we do as part of your wealth building plan is to help you hold these very critical meetings where we're looking at the different things. We're looking at marketing, we're looking at operations, we're looking at financial, we're looking at the team, we're looking at leadership, we're looking at how your business is doing today, we're looking at the environment, with inflation going up and with the whole work from home and the great resignation. These are all things that we're looking at. And how can your business remain sustainable through these difficult times? So those are the things that come up during the business meetings. We do this at least once a year. For our clients, we're getting ready to do it. We do it May and June is when we're taking, having meetings with our business owners to see exactly what is going on with their business. Okay, so the next thing is purchasing a property, or you could also buy stocks and stuff. So during this stage, we discuss the different real estate strategies that are available to you. Real estate still remains one of the fastest ways to build generational wealth. And so having real estate as part of your wealth building plan is very critical. So we'll look through the different strategies. There's so many real estate strategies out there. I'll just mention some of them. Bird dogging. You find a property, you mention that to somebody else, they get the property, they pay you a fee. There's wholesaling. You find a property, you put it under contract, and then you sell your contract rights to somebody else, and they pay you a fee. You can make anywhere from $5,000 to $100,000. I've seen somebody making $150,000 just in a wholesale fee. You can also do a rehab. You find a property, get it under contract, purchase it, rehab it, and turn around and sell it. You can also be a landlord. You buy a property, fix it, and then rent it out. There's notes. There's commercial real estate. There's sandwich leases. So I think we have about 16 to 17 different real estate strategies out there. So it's finding which strategy works for you and making sure that you have the right skill set to be able to build your wealth. Okay. The next stage that we look at is retirement planning. I know a lot of people want to retire, but there's the complexity and the time required to build a successful retirement plan. So we help during this stage because there's a lot of retirement plan strategies available to small business owners where you're able to contribute a lot more than the general workforce out there. Looking at making sure that your business has value so that if you decide that you're going to sell this business tomorrow, there's enough equity in the business for you to be able to sell the business, and then also the assets of the business. So kind of looking at your whole retirement plan and, how much you're going to get from Social Security and from pension, or from your 401k, or from if you had the rental properties and stocks, taking a look at all of that to make sure that you're able to have a comfortable retirement. The C.R.E.A.T.E Act generally removes 10% penalty on early withdrawal. So one of the things that we're looking at for a lot of our clients is that for those of them who did a retirement withdrawal where they spread it out over 3 years, the possibility of paying that money back so that you get a tax benefit in 2021 and 2022. So we will help you in coming up with a process that you need to plan, implement, and execute a comfortable retirement. All right, this is the last stage year-end tax planning. I tell people that April 15th is your tax filing deadline, but December 31st is your tax savings deadline. I know a lot of people know about the April 15th deadline, and a lot of people are not paying attention to the December 31st deadline. With April 15th, that's compliance. That's when the IRS is saying, oh, you need to have your taxes done by this time. But as a small business owner, as a woman who wants to build wealth, as somebody who wants to do generational wealth, you should be more worried about December 31st. So November, December is when we're working with our clients to kind of look at everything that has happened during the year and come up with strategies to reduce their taxes before the year runs out. Because once December 31st is come and gone, there's very little that you can do to reduce your taxes. So these are the things that we look at during the year. And, can we set up a retirement account for you? Can we push income into later years? Can we accelerate some expenses? Can we defer some decisions? Can we restructure your business, like maybe move you into an S Corp? Do we need to revoke the S Corp election? Do we need to do cost segregation to be able to take more depreciation? So those are all the little things that we look at during the year-end tax planning. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So we can open it up for questions. Right now, I'll take questions until we have time to end.
All right. I do. Excuse me. All right. If you have a question, go ahead and drop it in the chat. I was trying to click it up real quick before she finished. I do have a couple of pre-submitted questions from folks about when we thought we were going to have her come speak. And the first one, I think you kind of answered because you talked about the toxic LLCs. But the first question that I have is, can you outline from a tax perspective what the best entity to state your business? And I think what you said, you kind of already answered. There's no one best. It's really not just a tax question. Can you expand? Can you expand on that a little bit again?
Yes. So the best entity for you is you have to look at three things to decide on what the best entity is. You have to first look at what your business strategy is. For somebody who's actively earning income, the entity that they're going to need is different for somebody who has passive income. Then you also look at the legal aspect, what protects you. And in order to know what protects you, you need to know what assets you actually have. Because a business asset is different from real estate, is different from stocks, is different from your time, is different from intangible assets. So from the legal side, we're looking at what kind of exposure do you have based on your business. And then the most important thing is also, looking at the ease of compliance. So it might be possible that you want to set up a C Corp, but if you need to be doing the board of directors meetings, the annual meetings, you have to file this report every year. You have to pay this amount of money. Okay, yes, it might help you, with tax benefits, and it might help you on the legal side. But if there's a lot of compliance requirements that you're not able to keep up with, it doesn't even make sense to set up those entities. People would say, hey, I need to form an entity in Wyoming or Nevada, all that. But the ease of compliance becomes burdensome, and it defeats the whole purpose for why you set up the entity in the first place. So we usually look at those three things when we're making that decision.
Thank you for that. One other question I have here, and then I see a couple are starting to trickle in the chat. Can I claim home office deduct? Can I claim home office deductibles? I think what they're asking is, can I deduct the home office? And I know that that's changed a lot over the years. And especially with everything going on with COVID, I imagine there's just going to even continue to be some change in that. But I guess let's phrase it this way: what can we claim for our business for home office versus for our? This person was asking for their regular job. And I think maybe you could speak to that because people were forced to go home and consume their electricity and their internet and their things like that they didn't used to have to consume for work versus now also business side. So when you have a bona fide business, claiming on the business side, can you speak to those as well?
Yeah, unfortunately, nothing changed in the tax law for for the home office. What actually changed before the pandemic? I wish they had not made the change and fooled around with it. But what changed before the pandemic was before the pandemic, you were able to deduct miscellaneous deductions, and the home office was part of that. But after, I think that was in 2018. I don't remember the year. They did away with the 2% miscellaneous deduction. So the home office was no longer deductible for those who have regular jobs. And then now comes the pandemic, and now you're using all this home office for the job, and you're not getting any deduction for it. Well, most companies were looking at setting up like an accountable plan, where rather than paying you that money, can they deduct it from your, paycheck and then have that go towards like a reimbursable expense for a home office. And with that reimbursement, then it's pre-tax. At least you're not paying tax on that money. It's a pre-tax, but the company has to be okay and agree to set up that plan on your behalf. But other than that, there's very little that somebody who is an employee is able to do by way of deducting home office expenses for working from home.
Wow, that's unfortunate because a lot of companies are saying, "Oh, look, we can save all this money by making our people keep working from home," but they're not paying us more to cover all the extra stuff. Now, some companies are providing the laptops and things like that, but some aren't. And I've heard stories. I've had people come to me for financial coaching who have lost their job because they weren't going to buy this or that. And I'm like, wow, a lot of us work in at-will states.
Yes.
So they can fire you at will. That he doesn't have to have cause. So, and that leads into a question that's coming up. Well, wait, let's go. Okay, so that's for people who have jobs. But what about businesses? Like if you have a business, bona fide business operating out of your house. I know the rule, it used to be you could claim percentage of, oh, you know what? I need this question now because I don't have my office in the mall anymore. I have my office in the house. Wait a second. I need this question.
Right. Okay. So the rule is,
it used to be you could claim a portion of your electricity and all that stuff for the business.
Yeah, so the rule is that, first of all, that space has to be exclusive use. You have to have the space used exclusively for the business. So it's not one of those rooms where you have, Junior's bed in there or whatever, or your living room, or you're working out of a corner. It has to be exclusive use. So that's the first thing. And then if it is exclusive use, then now you have to do the percentage, the square foot of the office versus the total square foot of the house. Then you're able to deduct everything else that comes with it. But the most important thing is that exclusive use. You can't have like a bed or TV or any other thing going on there. Then it's not exclusive use. And then for those that meet the exclusive use requirement, then now you are able to, deduct like your mortgage interest, taxes, rent, utilities, even the purchase price of the home based on the square footage of the home to the overall square footage of the house.
All right. And I've got another question that I've got written down, but I'm going to go with these questions from the comments real quick. It kind of leads into the other one that we just talked about. Do you work with clients in all 50 states?
Yes, we do. We have clients all over.
I'm so glad you do. You followed my military career from state to state to state to state.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And then well, I'm going to save Beverly. I'm going to save your question for the end because that's a great lead into for Ebere to tell us how to reach out to her. Where'd it go? I just had a question. Okay, never mind. Let's what if they're the owner? Dennis, I'm going to need you to give me just a little bit more background on your question so we can get you a good answer. All right. But we're really happy that you're here today. I'm really happy everybody's on today. This is such an important topic. I just had a question. Where on earth did it go? Okay, so well, let's go ahead and Beverly wants to know about, are you doing consultations? So let's talk a little bit about the process of doing consultations. If somebody does want to work with you, what's their next step?
Okay, so I can share my screen real quickly. Okay, so this is how you can get in touch with me. We have our 1-888 number, we have our website, and we have our email address that you can reach us. We have a lot of information on our website. And then if you want to have a consultation with us, you first start out with our business development specialist. Once she does the screening and determines if we're a fit, then if you want to talk to me, there's a paid consultation. And then after that, we decide if we're able to work together, either in the capacity of helping you implement the overall wealth building program, or you just do like an a la carte service if you want us to prepare your taxes or set up your entities or do consultations, year-end tax planning, so any service that you want. So that's pretty much the process.
All right. Okay, so I couldn't find, it was a juicy one too, and I'm gonna go back and find my email, but I did have another anonymous question come in. So if you have an anonymous question, most of you already know this, but if you have an anonymous question, go to askjjc.com and you can fill out the little form there. Or if you don't mind putting it in the comments and having your name attached to it, that's awesome too. Social proof, right? Like all of us entrepreneurs like social proof. But Dennis said some clarification about what if you are the owner of the home-based business. But if I heard you correctly, it's not whether you own the business, it's whether the space is dedicated to the business, whether it's its own.
Yeah, he might be asking that in light of when I said the employers versus employees. So
okay.
I'm the employer and I'm the employee. Yeah, then you still fall under that requirement of if it's exclusive use. So of course, if you're an employee, you're not going to be able to take that against whatever W-2 that your company pays you. But if you have an LLC or an S Corp or whatever, you are able to charge a reasonable fee for the use of the office space. So you may not necessarily do the home office deduction. Like if you had an S Corp or C Corp, you may not necessarily need to do the home office deduction, but you can charge your business a certain amount every month for the use of that office space. If you have a multi-member LLC or a single member LLC, or you have a sole proprietor, you can still use the home office form to get the home office deduction.
All right. Thank you. And thanks, Dennis, for that clarification. Okay, so I've got the original question here, and then I've got another one that came in. Are there pitfalls to buying property and renting to your business? Now, I love that strategy, so I'm very curious about your answer.
Pitfalls. The only pitfall is at the time of sale, because at the time of sale, then all that depreciation would need to be recaptured. But if you're building generational wealth, which is what we're talking about here, if you're building generational wealth, if you're looking at building wealth together and all that, you do not necessarily have to worry about that, because that property stays in the family. And upon your passing, your beneficiaries would get it at fair market value on the date of your death. So all that depreciation or recapture would go away.
And that also speaks to, go ahead.
No, that's the only pitfall that I can think of off the top of my head.
Well, what you just said also speaks to another question I get a lot as a financial planner, and I want everybody to hear it from somebody else, not just me. This is why you don't quit claim deed your stuff to your kids.
Yes.
your property to your kids, you let it pass through. Now that pass through though, is it best done in a will, in a trust to get that benefit? I mean, because if you do, I think, never mind. I'm not gonna pretend to be a lawyer on a broadcast, but there are some complexities with that. But generally speaking, me, mom, want to will my family to my children. I don't just go down to the county and think I'm doing something special by quit claim deeding it, and now we don't have to pay all the stuff, because they're gonna have to pay all my depreciation or recapture.
Yes, because
Whatever
now they
the
inherit
IRS
your
term is.
basis. Yes, if you do it while you're still living, they take over your basis. So if you've owned that property for 30 years, property that you bought at 100,000 is worth 400,000. Well, they're going to get it at 100,000. However, if it's something that you passed on to them through your estate, whether it be a will, a trust, even an LLC where you designate them, as a 1% owner, where they take over your ownership upon your passing, they'll get it at the fair market value of the date of your death. So it's never a good idea to pass on your assets to your children while you're still living. You can still do like a grantor retained earnings annuity trust where that property is held in trust for them, but you still retain all the rights and benefits, the burdens, the benefits, rights of those assets while you're still living. And then upon your passing, it would go over to them.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Yes, yes, yes. I love it. And I really am about generational wealth. It doesn't take long. It really just, our generation can set up the next generation, and they can have phenomenal success. It really only takes one generation to plant that flag and say, I'm going to do this thing, and then I'm going to educate my heirs. So that as soon as I die, they don't just rush off and sell everything and have a big party or go shopping or go on trips with that money, but that they themselves understand the value of generational wealth. And then it's exponential growth from there. All right, all right. Okay, again, if you have any questions, please do drop them in the chat. I've got one more question left here. I wrote it down so I wouldn't accidentally scroll it out of my phone. And this one is on self-directed IRAs. I went to an insurance. What did I even write down? I went to an insurance where they said it's hard to take your money out of self-directed IRAs. Okay, I heard these aren't good. Okay. Okay, so I think I know what they're asking. I think I know what they're asking. So, there's a lot of going on about the tax-free loans and infinite banking, and you don't want self-directed IRAs because it's hard to get your money out. And I have not found that to be true. But from a tax perspective, are there pitfalls that people need to worry about when investing in their self-directed IRAs, specifically regarding withdrawing that money later on when the time is right?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the self-directed IRAs. We actually, for most of our clients, we send them an article on the difference between a self-directed IRA and a 401k. The challenges or issues that you mentioned, yes, happen when it's an IRA. Granted, it's still pre-tax. Like the IRA is pre-tax and the 401k is pre-tax. But there's a lot more benefits with the 401k because it's like a business retirement account. You're able to borrow from it up to $50,000 of the value of the account. If you have debt financing in there, you're not subject to the UBTI taxes that you have to pay. With the IRA, you're having to deal with a trustee as a go-between. With the 401k, you are the trustee. So yes, those issues that exist are true with the IRA, but you can set up a solo 401k for your business and roll over your assets from the self-directed IRA to the 401k and eliminate a lot of the headaches that exist with trying to utilize an IRA for wealth building. It works, like it's better than having a regular IRA, but it's not as robust as a 401k IRA.
For the business perspective. But like if you have a Roth though,
with a Roth, you can still set up a Roth solo K, but you can't roll over from a Roth IRA to a Roth solo. You can make new contributions to the Roth solo, but you can't roll over the Roth IRA. So yes, the Roth IRA is the only situation where you're better off with a self-directed Roth IRA than nothing at all, since you're not able to roll it over into a Roth solo, but you can make new contributions to a Roth solo.
And if anybody is listening to this conversation, like, I don't know what these two ladies are talking about, you definitely want to get on Ebere's calendar, because she has the heart of a teacher and she will walk you through everything you need to know for your specific situation. All right. Another question slid itself in. Do you need to have a business license to claim a business on your taxes?
No, you don't. The licensing is more of a state thing. The Department of Licensing and Regulation is a state thing where they decide what it is that you are able to, what you need a license for. But you don't need a license to operate it. You don't even need to register the business. You're advised to register
the tax
the business
perspective.
from tax and legal. But you are advised to do that because you get the tax benefits, you get the legal protection, but you can operate as a sole proprietor. And a lot of people are doing that. So same thing with the license. You don't need a license to be able to claim your business, but the state may require you to have a license in order to operate.
Yes. And this has been wonderful. This has been wonderful. I want to thank you so much for being here today. It just does my heart so good, and I just, from the bottom of my heart, I hope you never fire me as a client, because I really appreciate it.
You're funny.
And I do. I appreciate you. I appreciate the comfort of knowing, and I really do. Wait, I don't want to say this and have you raise your prices on me, but I really do feel like a good CPA is worth their weight in gold, because there's so many complexities, especially as you start acquiring properties, and somebody that you can trust. And I know that my life financially has gone up and down and up and down and up and down. And you've been there every step of the way. And you've been a very important part of my journey to getting to where I am. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Do you have any last thoughts before we say goodbye that you might want to?
Yeah, building wealth works. It works. People, I don't want people to give up. It works. If you work it, and if you do if one strategy is not working, you can find another strategy. There's so many investment wealth building strategies out there. You just have to keep working it until it works.
All right. Well, thank you so much again for being here today. And everybody, you see the information down here. We've got her number, 888-502-3767. We've got the wealthbuildingcpa.com, and the email is info@thewealthbuildingcpa.com. Thank you again for being here.
You're welcome.
Oh, we are going to move on to our next. I hope you can see one of the powerful principles that I learned from Les Brown, and I've heard echoed by many other mentors, is OQP, only quality people. And as you've noticed, I have surrounded myself with quality people that have been able to inspire me and help me to move forward. And sometimes, like Natalie said, call us up. She didn't say call us out. She said call us up. I'm gonna start working on that. But I do appreciate everyone who has come to speak in this summit. And I'm going to go backstage here in a second, and I'm going to say a proper goodbye to Ebere. But before I leave the stage, I want to bring something very special and near and dear to my heart. And I'm going to tell you, while I cack up her talk, why it's so important to my heart. Back in June of 2013, I published my third book, my third cover to cover book. And with that book, I made $3,000. Now, you fast forward to today, that doesn't sound like a whole lot of money, but for me, it was like a rebirth, and it was like a renewing and a refreshing. That summer, that one convention that I sold the book at, my church convention, it was $3,000. And I told the Lord, I said, whatever I make from selling this book at the General Assembly, I am going to give in the Power March. And I was shocked to see how much I made. And what it showed me was that it doesn't matter how far you fall in financial failure, $800,000 of debt. It doesn't matter how deep the hole is. There's always, just like Ebere just said, there's always a way to climb out. There's always a way to build wealth. There's always a way for you to succeed financially. I've got clients that I'm working with right now, and they are worried about their health and how can they run a business when they can't guarantee how they're going to feel on any given day. And we work together to strategize and find that. But there's always a way. And when I sold that book, when I published that book, it let me know that I was in charge. I was in charge of my future, because you might be able to keep me from working at this agency or that agency. I may have children or health concerns that keep me from being able to take a retail job where I'm standing on my feet, location or geography. None of that matters when you're able to tell your story with the written word. And I just kind of happen to have the gift of gab, I suppose. But I am very, very good at writing. And so some of us aren't very good at writing, but you also can have that freedom and that power that comes from being able to speak your story and publish your story. And so the individual that I'm going to bring to you next, we're going to have Shar Halliburton. She runs Queshar Detroit Publishing, QDP, Queshar Detroit Publishing, and she will show you how to build generational wealth through publishing. Let me go ahead and bring her up.
Hello, my name is Shar Halliburton, and I am an international best-selling author, speaker, and the CEO of Queshar Detroit Publishing. At Queshar Detroit Publishing, we empower professional women to share your expertise and your zone of genius in a signature nonfiction book. So today, I'm so excited to be a part of the Building Wealth Together Summit with JJ Conway. JJ, thank you so much for the opportunity to share again with your community. So let's just dive right in. A little bit about myself and my background. I want to tell you the story of how I became a published author. So growing up, I've always known that I wanted to be an author, but life just got in the way. I was a writer for my high school newspaper. So I really loved writing. Went to college, Michigan State University, and I studied communication. So writing was a very intricate part of my studies at Michigan State. And once I graduated from Michigan State, I pursued a career in public relations. 6 months down the road, I got laid off. And I started to, apply for jobs in the communication field, but I kept saying that I didn't have enough experience. So based upon that, I needed to work. So I started to work in different arenas. I started to work in real estate. I started selling cars. I was a substitute teacher for 2 years. So I just started, to get a job so that I could pay my bills. So when I started selling cars, I met an insurance agent that told me that they were hiring at the firm that she worked at. And one day I was invited for an interview. So I went during lunchtime on at my job when I was, a car salesperson. I went to an interview and I got hired on the spot. And then, I started to learn about the insurance industry, and I felt like I was at home there because I've been in insurance for 22 years. So that was my 9 to 5. So I was, satisfied with the job at first, but then I started to feel like something was missing in my life. And I had to do self-assessment, and I realized it was writing, because writing was a very important part of my life. I loved to write. I used to enter writing contests, and, it was just a, very important part of my life. And I started to miss it. So in 2018, I published my first book after years of procrastinating. In 2008, I actually started to write my first book, but then I stopped because I was feeling like, second guessing myself, saying, is this good enough? The imposter syndrome was very heavy in my life at that time. I kept questioning, should I really be doing this? But that is something that I love. So, and I was good at it, but, still sometimes you can be good at something, but sometimes you second guess yourself. So I just kept putting it on the back burner. And then one day I said, you know what, I'm going to stop procrastinating and I'm going to start this writing process. So I started a blog, and out of that blog, I started talking about time management and procrastination. And I shared my procrastination story in my first book, Everything They Won't Tell You About Procrastination, which I published in the fall of 2018. After that book, I published my signature book, Skyrocket Your Success, which is right here, 10 Keys to Refocus, Reposition, and Reclaim Your Purpose. And so that's my signature nonfiction book that I'll be getting to in just a second. But once I started to publish that, once I published that book, it just opened up so many opportunities for me, opportunities to collaborate with other authors. I've been a part of 4 anthology projects. So I've been, taking this writing thing seriously while holding down my 9 to 5. And so the first key that I'm going to talk about today, which is very important in building wealth through publishing, is to keep your 9 to 5 when you first start out. Because just because you publish a book doesn't mean that you're going to be a millionaire overnight. It's going to take work, strategic planning, and dedication to get you to that next level. So the first key is to keep your 9 to 5 as long as you can. And I'm still at my 9 to 5 because I have several goals that I want to accomplish before I exit corporate America. So keep your 9 to 5. This way you'll be able to keep afloat with your bills. And you won't be, worried about if you're going to, make enough money in the beginning, because sometimes it takes a while for you to build up. So keep your 9 to 5 as long as you can. That's the first key. The second key is to write, launch, and publish a signature nonfiction book where you share your expertise with others. Okay. So pick whatever that topic is, whatever you shine in doing, whatever is your thing, write a signature nonfiction book about that topic. But this is the thing, your signature nonfiction book must solve a problem for your target audience. Who is your target audience? Who needs the information that you share? So you make sure that you are very specific on who your target audience is when you write your signature nonfiction book. Because again, the purpose of writing this book is so that you can share your knowledge and help a certain target meet certain goals and dreams in their life. Okay, so the first thing is to write a best-selling nonfiction book. The second thing is to want to know, once you write your nonfiction book, you're not only an author, but you're an entrepreneur. You become an authorpreneur, which means that your book is your business, okay? And so what you need to do is set up a monetization plan to make money in your business. So with being an author, you're going to have different opportunities to speak, like Building Wealth Together. This is a speaking opportunity. And with some of your speaking opportunities, you're going to be able to couple bulk book sales. So you'll be able to package your speaking engagements with bulk book sales. And you can reach out to different associations, universities, businesses, conferences, workshops, where your target audience is. So find out where your target audience is and show up as a speaker for these different conferences and different programs that they have, and couple your bulk book orders with them, because it's going to take so much time to build wealth selling one book at a time. So you want to do bulk book orders. That's going to be a very important factor in building generational wealth. So not only is speaking very profitable within your information-based business, but the 3 C's, coaching, consulting, and courses. You'll be able to become a coach to those that are looking to do what you want to do. You can be a consultant for those that want to do it on their own, but they just want to know how to do it. And courses, you can create a written blueprint so that people can know the process, but you'll be able to document it for them. So coaching, consulting, and courses. Another thing is live events. You can create live events based upon the ideas and the principles that you share in your book. Workshops, webinars. You can do, virtual events. There are so many things that you can do to monetize your business. So the second key is to create a successful monetization plan regarding your book content. The third thing is to build a winning team. So again, your book is your business. So you're not the only person that can just take care of this business on your own. In order for your business to grow, you must have other partners in your business, employees. You can have contractors that help you with your business. So you want to create standard operation procedures so that you can delegate different tasks that you don't want to do, because you can't do everything. If you're spending your time doing all of these other tasks, you won't be able to do the big money makers in your business. So write out and document the processes that you have in your business, okay? And then you'll be able to hire people to help you to triple and sometimes quadruple your income in your business. And another thing that's very important about building a winning team is to start mentoring your children and other family members so that once you are ready to retire, that your business can live on. Okay. And so that's very important about building generational wealth and a legacy within your family. The fourth thing is to create a team of 5 professionals to help you with your business. That team of 5, the first person is a business coach. As a business coach, you need a coach. We all need to keep learning, keep growing. So you need to find someone that's successful doing the thing that you seek to do. So find that person that can be your mentor, your coach, okay? And it's going to take an investment, okay? So make sure that you are ready to invest in you. The second very important person in your business, your team of 5, is an attorney. You need an intellectual property attorney so that you can copyright your books, your manuscripts. If you do plays, you want to make sure that you have that you copyright that as well. Trademarks, you have certain phrases or frameworks that you have within your business. You want to be able to trademark those. And also, you want to have an intellectual property attorney help you with licensing. If you have speeches or if you have courses or other content, you want to be able to license it out, okay, and be able to build wealth through those 3 things with your intellectual property attorney, trademarks, copyright, and licensing. The third important person for your team of 5 will be insurance agent. You want to be able to protect your personal property, your business personal property. You want to have liability covered. If you had a actual business, someone to slip and fall, you want to be able to have liability. And you also want to have life insurance for yourself and other important key team members, because that will help build generational wealth as well. And the next thing is to have an accountant to keep control of your finances and, make sure that your money is right in your business. So you want to make sure someone's there to help you with your quarterly reports and make sure that you're doing everything that you're supposed to be doing in order to keep your business afloat. And the fifth important person that you need on your team is a supportive and enterprising friend, a friend that you can talk to when you're going through the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, someone that can be your accountability partner. So again, those 5 people are: number 1, a business coach; number 2, an intellectual property attorney; number 3, an insurance agent; number 4, an accountant; number 5, a supportive and enterprising friend. And the next key to building generational wealth is to keep learning, keep growing, keep investing in yourself by reading personal development books, go to workshops, webinars, take programs that's going to always up-level your skills. And you want to make sure that you're constantly staying on top of the trends that are happening within your industry, okay? So keep learning, keep growing, keep investing in yourself to take you to the next level. And the next thing, the second from last thing I want to talk about, the key is to make sure that you are resting, rejuvenating and recovering from doing all this work that you're going to do, because it's going to get busy. Sometimes you're just going to be like, did I even sleep last night? But you want to make sure that you're resting, taking time to rest. This week, I took off from my 9 to 5 every so often, like quarterly. Sometimes I take a week off so I can kind of rejuvenate, because working the 9 to 5, doing my other responsibilities and running a business gets to be very busy. So you want to be able to rest, rejuvenate, and so that you are able to reset and be able to be productive in your business. And the final thing that I want to talk about is to celebrate. Celebrate at every stage in your business process. When you write your book, celebrate. When your book becomes a bestseller, celebrate. When you be able to get your first corporate client, celebrate. Celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. When you celebrate, you are sending a positive message that what you're doing deserves to be celebrated. Okay, so the last key is to celebrate. Again, I want to review those keys. The first is to write, launch, and publish an international best-selling book based upon your expertise. Number 2, create an information-based business, because your book is your business, and create a monetization plan. You can do that with speaking, with bulk book orders, coaching, consulting, creating courses, creating live events, because your book is the foundation of your profitable information-based business. Number 3, build a winning team. Make sure you are documenting the processes in your business so you can hire other people to delegate the hard stuff that you don't want to, work on. You may want to work on another moneymaker in your business, but you want to make sure that you set up processes so that you can have employees or other team members to help you with your business. And the number 4 thing is to create a team of 5 trusted individuals, a business coach. Number 2, an intellectual property attorney. Number 3, an insurance agent. Number 4, an accountant. And number 5, a supportive, enterprising friend. And the 6th thing is to keep learning, keep growing, and keep investing in yourself through personal development. And finally, you want to rest and recuperate, along with the most important thing, celebrate at every stage. So I just want to thank you so much for tuning in to Building Wealth through Publishing with Queshar from Queshar Detroit Publishing. I want to encourage you to follow me on social media at QD Publishing. Q like Queshar, D like Detroit Publishing. Follow me on social media, and I'll share all the updates that I have. If I have different opportunities for you, I will share them on my social media. You can find me on Facebook at Shar Halliburton and LinkedIn as well. I thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me and my presentation on building wealth through publishing. Thanks so much, and I wish that you have a wonderful day, and here's to your success.
Oh, wasn't that just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful? I just love the fact that so many people are getting excited that, wow, I can surround myself with these key players and I too can have success. Now, one of the things y'all know, look, as a financial planner, one of the things that I love that she said was, don't just leave your day job until the time is right. And me and Natalie spent a good hour talking about making that leap. But before you get to the point where you're making that leap, it's important to understand that first you have to test the concept and surround yourself with these advisors and build strong relationships. One of the things that I discovered in trying to surround myself with those kinds of advisors, one of the things that I discovered was that I did not surround myself with people who really did have my best interest at heart. And I didn't discover that until I was in business for a little bit. Yes. Shar's presentation was absolutely wonderful and very invaluable. Now, if you know that you have someone in your life that needs this content, that needs this life-changing information, you've got somebody who's been struggling and they've been wanting to move forward. They don't understand why their business isn't moving forward the way it should. I want to encourage you either to gift them or send them to womenswealthvip.com where they can upgrade for our lifetime access. The lifetime access not only gives you the recordings from this whole conference, both as a MP4 and also I've created MP3s. So I've got MP3s of all of yesterday's. They're being uploaded as we speak, right? So that you can download it to your phone, take it while you're walking, driving, or anything like that. But you also get bonus content. You get bonus content from previous conferences that we've held, including one where Shar goes into even more detail about the publishing process. Okay. So you're going to want to go do that at womenswealthvip.com. Yes. She did such an amazing job. And I'm so excited to be here, to have you all here today. And I appreciate the speakers for participating. I'm not saying this because they're doing it, but since they're doing it, while I bring up the next presentation, one of the things that I look for as a conference planner is who's easy to work with. Who's easy to work with, who helps make the event a success. And when I see speakers in the chat congratulating other speakers, or when I see speakers in the chat reaching out to their audience and saying, hey, you need to see this other speaker, those kinds of things raise up their relationship capital, so that when I'm looking for someone to help me pull an event off, and especially as I'm starting to move into paid events, that I'm looking, okay, who am I going to pay to speak at this event? Well, I'm going to pay speakers who are supportive and encouraging, who bring the fire, like our ladies today do, and who will help the program go over. Okay. So if you're an aspiring speaker, I didn't mean to say all that, but since I've been seeing it for the last 2 days, several of our speakers have been very encouraging to others, and they've been bringing their own audience in to listen to other speakers. And that means so much to me, because you know what? What's good is good. And we're all in this building wealth together. And I know, and that we can only take people so far, but working together, we can get so much further. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Yes. This is actually not just something that I love to do, but here's the thing. Here's what I've discovered. I think it was maybe my third or fourth conference. I discovered that I was really good at putting together events, and that people were going to my speakers' events more than me. So that motivated me to do two things. One, I had to go get me some training on how to do a little bit better job connecting with my audience, right? So I did that. So I went and got John Maxwell certified, and I continue to hone that skill with my local National Speaker Association chapter. The North Dallas chapter is phenomenal. And I'll tell you what, I realized, well, look, if I've got this platform, then if I'm good at doing this and creating an avenue, then why not use my talent, and let's all build wealth together. I get some, you get some. Remember what Natalie talked about the triple win? Y'all know I've always been saying for years, I'm all about the win, win, win. It's good for me. It's good for the speaker. It's good for the audience. Win, win, win. All right. All right. So now with all that said, with all that said, let me go ahead and bring up our next presentation. This one's got a very eye-catching title, but I tell you what, this isn't just about Madison Avenue techniques today. This is a power-packed discussion about how you can successfully write grants. And before I bring up Miss Jackie's presentation, one of the things that I discovered is that I had my nonprofit for the church, but I wanted to serve the community in a for-profit for my business. And so what I discovered is there are a lot of nonprofits out there who are willing to pad their grants with your services that you'll get paid for if they receive the grant. So whether you want to write grants or you're looking for another way to make money by making what you offer for profit be enticing to grant writers, no matter which way around it, you need this talk. It's from Jackie Adkins-Dozier, and she is a wonderful, wonderful emerging speaker. You have got to bring her to your stage and enjoy her sweet spirit and comforting heart. Here we go. Using the SEXI model for successful grant writing.
Hello, everyone.
Jackie.
I'm Jackie Atkins-Dozier. I'm the owner of Integrity Consulting and Professional Services, LLC. I'm also a nonprofit guru and a subject matter expert on grant writing. I've been in the nonprofit sector for 40 years, 40 years, and a grant writer, and a very successful one at that, for 33 consecutive years. So today I just want to share with you my story in hopes that it will inspire you to continue to work your God-given gifts, talents, and abilities to help you create wealth and live a very satisfied financial life. Let me tell you my story. My early grant writing experience began in 1989. I was divorced. I was single parenting 5 biological children, ages 5 through 15. I was not getting any child support, and my boss had just fired me. And he wrote stuff in my unemployment appeal so that I couldn't get my unemployment. So I had to appeal it, and it took me 6 months to get that resolved. But while I was waiting, I had to pull on some resilient skills. I know that I'm a resilient person with help and with support. So I called on my friends, and I asked them, help me find a job. I need to go to work, and that real soon. Someone gave me a referral to the San Diego Urban League. I applied, I interviewed, and I got the job. I got hired. However, the only problem was that I had to wait 3 months before I could actually sit in the chair at the Urban League building in the position that I had been hired for 3 months earlier. But I waited impatiently until I got the call to work. The job went well for months, and I did everything with excellence because I was just too happy to have a job. I had been a stay-home mom for a lot of years, and now I'm trying to get back into the world of work, and I find myself divorced and jobless. So you can only imagine what my situation was. One day, my supervisor called her team of three together and told us that we had to write a grant to keep our jobs. And I wasn't quite sure how that worked, but I soon found out. Over a weekend, the team got together and we wrote that grant. We shared, we parceled out duties and responsibilities. We shared the research parts of it. We made suggestions about what needed to go into that grant and what did not need to go, what we need to change for that year. And we wrote it using an old-fashioned typewriter, whiteout, and carbon paper. Those were the days. But we wrote it with lightning speed. We had three very talented individual staff persons, and I happened to be one of them. And we got the job done. We did it, and we got funded every single year that I worked at the Urban League. I love working for nonprofits, and I saw how they helped to fulfill my professional and my ministry assignment to help others. You see, I'm also a licensed and ordained minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. I've had several jobs, and I wrote grants at each one. And oftentimes, I was given that job all by myself because I had the best skills and I had the best return on the investment. I got the grants, I got the grants funded. I was the most successful grant writer. And until 2021, I didn't really think about it. I didn't think that it came with bragging rights. I didn't think that it was something that I could even boast about. It was a part of my job. I did it, and I did it well. I hired a coach, if I might be able to say his name, Mike Kim of You Are the Brand. And he asked me what made me so good at grant writing. And I couldn't answer that question because I never thought about it like that. So I had to do some introspection, and I needed to find out and uncover this mystery that was even unknown to me. So I did. I talked to my mentor, who's my daughter, Kamille, and I told her about it. And so she said, well, Mom, think about it and pray about it and see what happens. I did just that. So over the past 16 years, I had to just kind of go back and start thinking about what made me so successful. And one night I went to sleep praying about it. I woke up, and believe it or not, this is a true story. Words came out of my mouth. The SEXI model. The SEXI model? I couldn't figure out what that was all about. So I called Kamille, and I called her Boo. I said, Boo, this is what I just woke up, and this is what came out of my mouth. And I don't understand it. She said, SEXI model? I don't know either, Mom. She said, think about it. I said, okay. And then we talked about it a bit. And then she called me back. She says, Mom, it's an acronym for your grant writing model. An acronym? Yes, Mom. I said, okay, well, what does it stand for? She said, I don't know. You're going to have to figure that part of it out. So I gave some time and some thought to it, and I finally came up with exactly what the SEXI model is all about. And I'm going to share that with you just briefly. It's a model that came out of my methods and my strategies that I learned at the Urban League. We never put it down in writing. We just talked about how we were going to write this grant, and I never thought about doing anything about it. I just followed the method. But there is a saying that we have all learned, that when you have something that works, don't fix it. But I've tweaked that a little bit. If it works, keep revising it. Keep revising it and keep it relevant for the current times that you're in. 33 years for me, and I made very, very few changes. I also remember a phrase by an author and spiritual teacher. Her name was Jaganji. Her name was Jaganji. And she wrote a book called Living the Fulfilled Life. And she made a quote in that book that goes like this: Revelation is more direct than every word, for it arises out of the truth of who you are. I'm an excellent grant writer, and I love writing grants. And this revelation confirmed for me that that's really who I am, a part of who I am anyway. Allow me to share now how grant writing has been a life-sustaining skill for me. Here is the SEXI model, one letter at a time. Can I say that I have used this same model for 33 years? Did I say that before? I want to say it again. For 33 years with very few revisions. Okay, here we go. Remember, SEXI is an acronym for the elements of the model. One of the things that I learned being a grant reviewer as well as a grant writer is how the decisions are made from the reviewer's point of view. We write the grants, we submit them into a portal. Nowadays we do. They're downloaded and printed out. And one of the things that impresses us the most is once that paper is printed out and we've got it all numbered, we look at that paper and the first decisions that we make are made through our sense of sight. How does it look on the paper? Are the margins good? Is the sentence structure good? Do they dot I's, cross T's? Do they use accurate punctuation and sentence structures, subject-verb agreement? Does it just look, because we only have a few seconds, does it look good on the paper? And that's especially funny for me because everything is, if it looks good immediately, I can buy into it, and then I decide logically why I made that emotional and that quick, fast decision based on my senses, my sense of sight. The same thing happens in the grant review room. We look at it, if it looks good, we give it more time. We delve into it, and we give it the accurate scores that it requires. So, S is for senses, your sight. And I'm throwing this extra in as well. If we also look at grant writing and the grant proposal as a sales pitch, it's not that you can stand before a group and tell them about your application. You have to do all of that in writing, and you have to make that emotional appeal. You have a product, and that's your program that you have put in writing, and you want the funders to buy it. So you have a buyer, you have a product, and you've got to sell that product to them. So in that sense, you always remember, you really do want to make the best pitch possible on paper so that the funders, as they review it, they can have, they can make good decisions about your particular proposal. So I write to how reviewers make decisions about what they want in the final product. And here is where it is important to understand the model. Reviewers use their senses quickly to make decisions. Sometimes it's 3 seconds, sometimes it's a second, and some reviews say that they can take up to 6 seconds to make a decision. So what we see quickly, remember that. Remember the sales pitch as well. The next part of it is the E. And the E has 3 parts to that. It's the emotions, expectations, and experience. Remember, you are writing to nonprofit funders. They have money. You have the project. And you identify your target population and use the words that will appeal to their emotions. We want another emotion now, compassion or passion. The fundraisers and the funders and the reviewers are usually nonprofit people who are very passionate about funding programs that they think will help their communities. Remember that. So use language that will pull on the compassion of them. Describe your target population very carefully. They're low income, single parent, children of single parents. And the mothers sometimes have not finished high school. And they live in low income neighborhoods. They attend low performing schools. Make it sound, I wouldn't say bad, but realistic, so that we can draw on the compassion of the reviewers. That's another part of it. So the emotions go into writing that grant and getting the reviewer to like what you wrote, because you want to appeal to their emotions as well and to their passion. Make sure that you appeal, as I said before, to your past, your current, and your future experience and achievements in addressing the plight of the less fortunate. Talk about what you've done in the past that worked. Talk about what you're doing currently that is working. And then if you added a new element of success, you've done some more research, talk about that future, that you're going to incorporate this into that grant, and it's going to make it even more successful. And talk about it with passionate language. Clearly define the results that you expect from using the award money, and add history of the achievements again of the organization meeting those expectations in the past, or how you plan to meet them. Check the tone of the written appeal. Don't just be logical and technical writing. Make it passionate. Pull on the hearts and the heartstrings of the reviewers. And include at least one well-placed and well-timed microagreement. Your funds of $75,000 will allow the organization to successfully meet these particular goals and objectives. Will you be a funding partner for my organization to make this happen? Use that terminology. We want to partner with you, because that's really what funders do. They partner with you. We give you the money, you do the work. So that's a partnership. And so appeal to that as well. That part is often used in the executive summary, but don't fail to also use it in the program description of your grant. Now we get to the X. And you may think that I have misspelled experience, but this is our innovative piece, a little play on the spelling of experience. We just say experience, okay? Describe your key staff and your board of directors with adjectives, superlatives, words and alphabets that showcase their educational achievements. If they have bachelor's level, associate's level, master's level, doctorate level, put all of that in, including honorary doctorate degrees or any other kinds of degrees that they have gotten. Include some of their certificates and their managerial levels, and just said it will be led by the project manager, has these many years of experience and will be leading this project. So put something in there to let them know that you really do have a qualified person in there. Also include the years of experience on that job, or in the past, or on the previous job that they have had. And then in any previous experience they had leading this type of project or activity. And that leads me to the final letter of the acronym, innovation. Provide one or two research elements and cite the source. Never write the same grant the same way two times and give it to the same funder. Change something or element it in every single time, because the world is changing. When I wrote grants in 2019, we got funded for an after-school program, and then COVID hit, and we had to start changing everything to virtual. I used to do the trainings one-on-one in front of an audience in a training room or conference room, and now we're having to do everything online. And that was a new concept for me, even at my age, to bring this into the 21st century. So with innovation, always have an element of innovation, something you're going to do differently, and also always include online services. Do a hybrid thing. Maybe once a month we'll come in person, and the rest of it will be done online, so that we can appeal to all of the needs of the trainees as well as the trainers. There was one after-school program that I did. I wanted to do something very, very different with some children. So I stood outside of the facility where the after-school program was going to be held. I just started scanning the environment just to see if there's anything I can pull in from the community that we could add to this program. We were still in a writing stage. And I saw a golf course that I had never seen before. It was kind of hidden behind a building, but I saw people on their golf carts and holding their rods in their hands, and I thought, I wonder if these kids would be interested in learning how to play golf, because we know a lot of business decisions are made on the golf course. So I found and this is his terminology, not mine. I found the retired golfer from the Negro Golfing League in Louisiana, and he agreed to teach the boys how to be caddies. Now, how does that interplay with what we have to do? Let me just share you one other innovative piece. Normally, when I review grants or when I've written them before, oftentimes I keep seeing people use, or when I even review the funders' um, homepage, and they'll tell you who they funded and how much they gave. I see a lot of youth development. And so I always ask myself, but what does that mean? And what did you do in this youth development program? So I decided I would never name a program youth development program again. I would do something, I'd spice it up a little bit. And so I did edited one, and I put on there teaching K through 12 students to become economic powerhouses. And so that gave us a little bit more spice to it, a little bit more innovative. And how did being a caddy, add to that? It was critical thinking. They had to walk a lot. They built physical endurance that they might not have had before. They had to decide on ranges, square footage, and which one of those rods would be best to get that ball over to a certain length over that field. And so they learned a lot of skills, and they also learned terminology that they never would have had access to in the past. And so that was an exciting time for those young men, and it was also an exciting time for our funders. They loved the program. So today, I have been instrumental in not only working successfully for the last 33 or 40 years in nonprofits. Some years I didn't work, but 33 years as a successful grant writer. And today I can tell you that 4 of my 5 biological children have businesses or side hustles as their main profession. In the past 3 years, I have assisted a daughter, 2 daughters-in-law, and a son and a son-in-law with startup activities and securing grant funding. A 9-year-old granddaughter and 3 grandsons ages 13, 14, and 15 are all working side hustles as entrepreneurs and building generational wealth. The 14-year-old came home one day and says, "Grandma, I got an employee. I hired one of my classmates to help me with my business." And he has a bank account and a cash app. And he's doing very, very well. So I just want to encourage all of you who are listening today to use your God-given skills to create wealth, to help your family members with the skills, abilities that are necessary for them to do likewise. And any future entrepreneur who's even anticipating becoming so, you can do it. I did it. I continue to do it. And so can you. God bless you, and I wish you the very best. Have a very successful entrepreneurial life, creating wealth.
Well, I'll certainly have to see if we can do about the uh-oh. Certainly have to see what we can do about the audio from here on out. But I appreciate those of you who hung with us. Wasn't that fabulous? You know, just thinking about the different tips and tricks that you can use with making sure you craft a package. It's not unlike running a business. Excuse me. Let me move here. It's not unlike running a business. So I encourage you all to get with Ms. Jackie and take one of her grant writing workshops. I think I might just need to go in there myself, y'all. All right. Next up, we have the person that Ms. Jackie kept referring to as Boo in there, her daughter, who is also with John Maxwell team. And I have just loved working with this individual. Those of you who've been on my platform before, you saw that we did the Think and Grow Rich course together last year. I've done it for several years in a row, but last year I felt led to mix it up a little bit. And she co-taught it with me. It was so fabulous. And in fact, when you register, we're gonna remaster we're either gonna remaster or re-record the sound on Ms. Jackie's talk. and we're going to pop it into our VIP section. But one of the bonuses you get is that class with myself, the Think and Grow Rich class with myself and the next speaker that I'm about to bring up. Her name is Kamille Thomas. And like I said, she is a John Maxwell team member. She is a author, coach, editor, and just amazing person, former Air Force. And I think you're just going to love her talk today. She is going to be sharing with us about how money talks, even if you don't talk about it. Kamille, I want to bring her up to our stage today.
My name is Kamille Thomas, and I am an author, editor, copywriter, and content creator. Before I became an entrepreneur, I spent 25 years in the Air Force as a non-destructive inspection technician in the aircraft maintenance career field. I'm happily retired these days, and I'm loving my current journey of doing what I love. Writing is my passion, and I love helping to give others a voice and helping them tell their stories through words. And I know that that's definitely my purpose. So today, during this Women Building Wealth conference, I'm going to be talking about how negative money talks, or the lack of money talks, left me with no money and how that affected my self-worth. So I'll jump right into it. If you grew up like I did, the phrases that I'm about to say are probably very familiar to you. Money wasn't really talked about in my house. And if it was talked about, it was usually in a negative had a negative connotation. And the conversations between, my mom or some of the other adults and I went something like this. Hey, Mom, can I have some money to go to the mall? What? You think money grow on trees? I don't have any money for that. Or sometimes it went something like this. I didn't get to say anything. But as we approached the store and we walked in, my mom would say, when we go into the store, don't look at nothing, don't touch nothing, and don't ask me for nothing because I ain't got nothing. I don't have no money to get y'all nothing. Okay. Or maybe this one is familiar to a lot of people. Oh, you want McDonald's, huh? So do you have some McDonald's money? Oh, you don't? Well, what makes you think I do? Yeah. So growing up, I watched both of my parents struggle with money, and I often refer to my early life as the richest to rags era. See, my father was in the Air Force, and me and two of my sisters were born in Okinawa, Japan. I remember being very happy in my early years. Money was never an issue. Sometime around 1981, when I was about 4 years old, my dad got orders to March Air Force Base, California. And so we moved there, and life was still good. Like, I remember my house. I remember my Raggedy Ann and Andy dolls and bedroom set. I remember my strawberry shortcake scratch and sniff dolls. I remember my Chips motorcycle that I rode around, the power motorcycle. Yeah, I have one of those that I rode around the cul-de-sac with my neighbor and friend. I remember the snickerdoodles and the smell of those cookies permeating through my house when my mom used to bake. I remember the muscadine grapes my dad used to pick from the vineyard on his way home that he would share with us. And I remember trying to catch frogs with this colander that had these large holes in it, and the frog was jumping out of it. And so we spent the day running around chasing after this frog, and we didn't catch him. And then I remember my mom moving my younger sister and I, to San Diego with my maternal family while my dad was beginning his transition into retirement. And life was still good. I was surrounded by my family. I had lots of friends, and I was a happy child. And when my dad moves to San Diego post-retirement, we eventually, my parents bought and we moved into a 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom home in a nice neighborhood. And my dad, I remember him taking us every weekend. We would go to Wild Animal Park and Knott's Berry Farm, Magic Mountain, Disneyland, SeaWorld, and every other attraction that Southern California had. And my mom stayed home and she cleaned the house until it was spotless. And all was well until it wasn't. And then out of nowhere, my parents brought us all into the living room, sat us down, and announced that they were getting divorced. And this is where I began learning about money, or rather learning about the lack of it. So when they divorced, it seemed like everything fell apart. Like we had to move out of our beautiful home and move into a very small 3-bedroom apartment in a not so good neighborhood. But after a couple of months, too many fights and some serious criminal activity, we moved again. Different apartment complex, same scenario. And then we moved again. and again and again. And the cycle kept repeating itself, but the spaces we moved into got tinier and tinier. Not to mention, even my dad found himself homeless at one point in time. So you can imagine how tight things were for us. Well, my mom, she was doing the best she could do to take care of 5 and sometimes 6 kids on her meager income. But that also meant that at times there wasn't enough money to pay the light bills, the water bills, to buy groceries, or to give us lunch money. And by the time I was in high school, I figured out a clever way to pay for my food. So a couple of my friends had cars, and at my school, we also had off-campus lunch. So as long as I could scrounge up about 25 cents, at least 25 cents, I had about a 90%, probably more after a while, chance of eating a good lunch. And so what my friends would do was they would take me to Little Caesars. They would go to McDonald's and I would go to Little Caesars because I had an opportunity to get my lunch for free. I would play that Simon Says game that, you get so many points and you can get free breadsticks or free salad or something like that. But I got so good that I won a personal pan pizza almost every single day. And on the few days that, I didn't make it to the personal pan pizza level, I at least got an order of breadsticks and that good old marinara sauce that soothed my stomach for the day. And in the very beginning, when I started doing that, the first 1, 2, 3 times that I didn't get anything, it sent me in an overdrive. I would literally dream of playing that game every night. And I got so good at it that as soon as the employees saw me coming, they began to make my pizza. And my hunger was fueled by, fueled a determination in me that by any means necessary, I was going to get lunch. All right. So I learned how to be poor and still get what I needed. I had a lot of examples around me on how to live poor and survive. I didn't have a lot of examples, though, on how to rise above the poverty line, stay there, and become successful. But deep down, I knew it was always something that I wanted. I desired that for myself. And I knew that I never wanted my children to experience the struggle of poverty the way I did. And I knew that long before I had children. So I moved away from my parents in California, and I found myself in Georgia my senior year in high school. So I had to work to buy everything that I needed, to include my school supplies, my clothes, my hair, my food, my whatever I needed. I had to pay for that. And things were going okay. Even though I still wasn't really settled where I was, they were going okay. And then devastation hit. So at the end of my senior year, I had a fight that left me unable to complete any finals. So I graduated with a 1.6 GPA. Yes, this girl. And no college would touch me. No college wanted that, 1.6 barely scraping out of school GPA. But I knew I needed to get out of that town ASAP. So right after high school, I decided to join the Air Force. And as I was leaving, an unknown kidney condition disqualified me the day that I was leaving to go to boot camp. So they had to call my recruiter, tell my recruiter to come back and pick me up. And they also told me that I wasn't just disqualified for that time, but I would be disqualified for life because the Air Force did not accept people with my condition. And I was devastated, y'all. I was like, I don't want to continue to live here, and I don't want to live the way that I'm living. And I wanted out. And I wanted out so bad that I went back to my recruiter and I begged him and I pleaded for him. I said, can you do anything? Can you ask somebody? Can you just tell them I'm gonna be all right? I won't complain about my condition, even though it doesn't work like that. But I was like, I won't complain. I won't do anything. Can somebody please get me back in? And the answer was no. But I persisted and I kept nudging him. Actually, I kept nagging him. And because I had to go, I had to get out of there. And so I was like, can somebody do something? So finally, after 5 months and a ton of waivers, the Air Force let me back in. And I couldn't wait to leave and start a new life. But that was very short-lived. My aspirations of joining the Air Force and going through the commissioning program and making that good commission money, you know what I mean, that officer money, it was real short-lived. About a month after arriving to my first base, I found myself pregnant. I was young, I was single, and I was broke with a baby on the way. I hadn't even learned my job, yet here I was. And so all of my money fears came rushing back to the forefront of my mind because I didn't want my children to struggle like I did. But I also knew that the struggle was coming because I was broke. And it was one thing to struggle by myself, but it was another thing when I realized that I had someone to care for. And the only person that she had was me. And so the thought of being poor scared me. So I spent the next 7 months trying to figure out what I was going to do. Thankfully, by the grace of God, I found a small apartment that was $260 a month. And it was a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment. And I had it cost $10 for the water and $50 to $60 a month for electricity. And with the housing that the Air Force was giving me, the housing stipend, I brought in maybe about $1,200 a month at the time because I was just an airman, one stripe. And so after paying rent, utilities, car notes, insurance, gas, food, daycare, and taking care of the basic necessities, I was in the red more often than the green. I was stuck, y'all, and I was broke. I didn't like where I was, and just the thought of being broke, it scarred me. It scared me. And then on the flip side, the thought of having money was even more terrifying. I felt like I wouldn't know what to do if I had money because I had never had an example of that. And I didn't want to have another riches to rags story again. I had already been through that, and I didn't want to go through that. So I did what I call skimming. All right. So I just put just enough money to save away, for a rainy day because I was already mostly in the red. So the days I had a little bit, I was skimming. And then I spend the rest of it on whatever needed to be taken care of. But let me tell you something. There was always a rainy day around the corner. Okay. And so by doing this, I was repeating the same patterns of my past. And I always found myself living paycheck to paycheck. And while it got me by, I was always one day away from being broke. Okay, truth be told, there was many times when I was actually broke, all right? And there were days that I had to choose between eating and putting gas in my car, me eating or feeding my child, choosing between paying a late rent fee and paying daycare for my daughter, or choosing between paying my car insurance or paying my car notes. But I hid it well. I hid it from everybody. And what I do was I just denied the hunger pains in my stomach when my coworkers asked me to go to lunch. I'd be like, I'm not hungry, knowing that my stomach was turning inside out. Then when they asked me to go out with them, I tell them I had to stay home because I didn't have time enough to find a babysitter. Or there were times when the babysitter excuse wasn't going to work. So I would be like, okay, I need to take a nap first. And I would fall asleep and stay asleep, not wake up on time purposely. So I had an excuse not to go because I was too embarrassed to let anybody in on my secret. And that secret was I just didn't have a dime to my name. Couldn't even pull out $20 out of the ATM machine. And then there were some ATM machines back in the day where you can pull out $10, and I couldn't even pull that out. And then to top it off, I did eventually marry my daughter's father, and he had got orders to go to Korea. But even worse, he didn't have any money since either. So we were both in a bad way. The difference was he had a lot of debt and he had just crashed his car and insurance went up. And so, there's that too. And then we had just moved into a roomier, slightly more expensive apartment when he got orders. And so I had already been carrying the family and carrying the financial load because that's what a good wife does. And I was so bent on not having my daughter struggle that I did whatever I could. And I was robbing Peter to pay Paul. And while I was at home with our infant daughter, struggling to meet our basic needs, he was over there spending frivolously, y'all. I couldn't splurge. There was no splurging for me. There was no shopping sprees, no regular nail care. Couldn't, hang out with the girls all the time. And my only splurge was my hair, because if my hair wasn't together, I was going to hear it at my job. But anyway, I did whatever I could just to keep the lights on and the bills paid. And then while he's over there spending the credit cards, as that credit card balance went up and as it crept up, so did my stress levels. And then I starved myself financially, emotionally, and physically to make up the difference. The higher my stress levels rose, the more often I found myself in the emergency room. And after several visits with a negative lab results every single time, they couldn't find anything. One day the ER doctor said to me, he said, Kamille, there is nothing wrong with you. Stress undealt with will kill you, and you're stressed. So you need to go figure out what's going on in your life, figure out the source of all of this stress. And you need to go see a counselor, talk to somebody, figure this thing out, or it will kill you. Wake up call. He was absolutely right. I was in mental turmoil, okay? Because I was broke. I didn't know how I was going to pay the bills. I didn't know, it was so much going on in my life. I was afraid to tell anybody, afraid to get help. And I longed for more at the same time, but I didn't know how to get more. So thankfully, I'm fast forwarding a few years. Thankfully, after 2 divorces and losing pretty much everything both times, I found someone who made me think differently about money. He literally told me that we couldn't date until I was out of debt. And he said, completely out of debt. Now, I got a little attitude because I was like, why you want to know what kind of money I got? Like, I'm not taking care of another man. I'm not taking care of another man. But you don't need to see mine. And he said, well, I have assets to protect. Touche. And so what he did was, instead of me getting a whole attitude and everything, I realized that he was a godsend. And he took me down to his financial planner and to get all of my, finances in my financial affairs in order. And so that was like the best thing that anyone had ever done for me. And then he began to explain to me how money worked. And then he started helping me create a savings plan and invest. And he showed me how to budget and get a life. And he made me get a life insurance policy. He sat right there next to me and made me get a life insurance policy. And he also helped me create an emergency fund. And I mean, everything that you can think about, he covered that for me. And I'm so grateful that he was in my life at that time. And I began to feel this sense of financial and emotional freedom that I had never known, never experienced in my life. But then something else happened. Our relationship ended. We had, brought into this world a brand new baby girl. And in my immaturity, I canceled some of my financial plans. Thankfully, my advisor talked me into keeping the rest of them, but I did let some very important things go. And it was then that I realized that I had these limiting beliefs about money that was tied to some relationships and things that I had learned along the way. So some things I had picked up were things like, I had these ideas that kept me stuck. And one of them was only lucky people were rich. And whether they were lucky because they were born into money or married into money or inherited money or hit the lotto, I didn't fit in any of those categories. And y'all, I lived in Louisiana and there were casinos all around me, but I was just too cheap. Actually, I didn't have enough money to gamble. Okay. $20 was my limit. And oftentimes I would only spend $5 because I couldn't bear to part with the rest. So I had decided that I would never be rich because none of that pertained to me. And money was scary. That whole riches to rags story, I saw how easy it was to go from riches to rags. And I was emotionally scarred. So I decided that I'd rather stay comfortable, even if comfort was knowing how to live poor. And every time I reached a certain level of money in my account, I found a way to bring it back down to what was comfortable, which was being poor. I know how to operate in poor. And people, another idea that I had was people with money are money hungry. They're mean-spirited. They make their monies off the backs of the less fortunate. They're crooks. And I was none of those things. And so again, I made the decision that I'd rather be poor than to be looked at in that way. Another thought I had was I didn't come from money. So what makes me think I can have money? And would I be able to do what I need to do with the money? Be a good steward of it. But that terrible, am I worthy enough belief kept haunting me. I had seen so many people in my family with gifts that far exceeded the talent of some of the rich and famous be looked over and passed over. I saw how their lives, they were doing well, and then something happened and they came crashing down. And so I thought, what makes me any different? What makes me special enough or unique enough to deserve more? Yeah, that thought haunted me. Another thing I heard, and I think I probably got it a lot in church or something like that, and I love my church, y'all, I'm a believer, but money is the root of all evil, which I found out later on that it's often misquoted, and it's for the love of money is the root of all evil, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's some conditions with that. And so I was like, ooh, if money is the root of all evil, I'm not evil, I don't want it. And then I heard stuff like, the scripture was in Mark 10:25, where it says, it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for someone who is rich to enter the kingdom of God. So if I'm rich, that means I got a real small chance, almost no chance of going to heaven. I ain't want that either. And what about it's better to give than to receive, where people were, pressured into giving their very last when they had nothing left. And my parents were ministers as well. So I was on the other side of that, saw them give everything that we have to have nothing in return while we're sitting at home with no lights on. So the scriptures and the sayings. And again, like I said, I'm a believer. But it seemed as if there was a feeling of fear and lack that was instilled in me rather than an abundance mindset that I've come to know as an adult. And I'd often struggle with, the difference between what was enough and what was too much and how that related to, my chances of going to heaven. And another thing that I thought was rich people are selfish. That kind of like, if you have money, you should give it to the needy and less fortunate. Because I heard a lot of people, you can't take it with you to the grave. So why are you saving all that money? Or another one is, you should enjoy life now because you can't enjoy it when you're dead, And a lot of people try to put you on a guilt trip, talking about how, you have it and you see me in need. And they'll call you selfish because you won't give them what they want from you. Because they think that you just got more than enough and that you ain't gonna miss it if you give it to them. And so those ideas were deeply embedded in me. And every time I made a monetary transaction of any sort, you guys, when somebody would ask me for something, my friends, my family, I would get ill. They would send me into an emotional tailspin, so much so that I had to ask some of my family members, please don't ask me for anything, because it pains me to have to say no. They didn't know I didn't have it all. They expected or thought that I did, but it would literally cause me so much emotional distress that I would get sick. And then it also sent me in this tailspin that I couldn't even make a decision. I could not make a decision, or I would end up making that wrong decision and give that person who didn't have no money sense, couldn't budget to save their life and had no way of paying me back, I would give them the money that I knew I didn't have. And then I would be frustrated with myself. I would be stressed out and I would be sick yet again. And I could do a whole keynote on the connection between stress and negative physical health, but I'm gonna stay on topic and just let you know that stress caused me irreparable damage to my body. And not understanding money or having a negative relationship with the money will definitely keep you from having it. And I didn't have it. But in the last few years of my career, I knew that things would be changing and I had to make a change. Again, I wanted more. I've always wanted more. I just didn't know I could have more. I didn't know how to get more. But I knew I wanted more for me. I wanted more for my children, more for my legacy, more for my extended family, more for my friends. And I began seeking out ways to increase, to make what I had more. So I started going to seminar after seminar, but nothing changed. Then I paid for program after program and still nothing changed. I bought book after self-help book and nothing changed. And it wasn't until I began listening to the voices of those who understood that the foundation of all success is mindset that my life began to change. See, all those seminars, those programs and their books, they'll give you a blueprint, they'll give you the process, but they often miss the most fundamental and foundational part of success. Confronting the relationships you have with money and words, and uncovering those limiting beliefs and roadblocks to your success. And after finding the right tribe, the right mentors, and the right coaches, I realized that I would never be successful unless I first decided to. You heard what I just said? Yes, success is a decision. Earl Nightingale says it, and I love the way he says it, but he says, those who have decided to have more. Let that sink in for a minute. Those who have decided to have more. You have to take the first step, and you have to decide that you want more. And you, like for some people, decision making is so hard. It's hard business for them. They're used to going with the flow. They're used to being told what to do. They don't have to think about it. Like coming in the military, I'm told what to wear, where to be, what job I'm going to have, how to wear my hair, how to lace up my boots, the whole nine. And they're waiting for someone else to tell them what to do. Then they compromise what they truly want and desire for themselves because somebody else wants something and desires them to do something else. Or they hear those voices of all the people who told them in the past that they couldn't, even when they know they can. And they'll often sabotage their decision, because of the ideas, opinions, and voices of other people. And I know this firsthand because I was there. But I'm thankful that someone reminded me that nothing worth having comes easy. And my decisions got tested frequently. And it seemed like the moment I made a decision, something or someone would come along and remind me why I made the wrong decision. And I remember when I was first stepping out on faith, betting on myself, deciding to be an entrepreneur, there were people in my life who didn't understand my passion and my drive. And they were like, what are you doing? Like this, I don't get it. You could be doing all of this, but I was choosing to do something different. They didn't understand why I was spending so much money investing in my personal development. And I'm sure their uninvited opinions were given because they were actually trying to protect me from being scammed or being taken advantage of. But in that season of my life, and the season that I'm still in, I was so set on my decision that I would get ornery, as the old folks used to say. And I would be like, you don't understand my passion and my drive because God didn't give you this vision. He gave it to me. Thank you, but no thank you. If you don't have nothing positive to say, keep moving. And I meant that. But at the same time, after those conversations, after I stood up so boldly for myself, I remember going in my room, getting on my bed and being like, did I make the right decision? I was wondering if I was wasting my time, with all these ideas that I was starting to have and these crazy and wild dreams that I was having. I questioned whether it could truly happen for me. And I decided to treat those opinions like the distractions that they were, because I'm like, if I feel so strongly about it, I know that I'm this far away from cracking that, code, this far away. And so I treated them like distractions. And then I started listening to my coaches and my mentors who had experienced that, and they knew what I was going through, but somehow they still made it through. They gave me hope. And then I thought about it. I was like, isn't that something? We'll listen to people who try to sway us away from doing stuff that they've never even attempted to do. Not just attempted to fail, but stuff they've never even attempted to do. They can tell you all the things the reasons why you shouldn't do it, yet they've never even attempted it. Or they might have attempted something and failed at it, but they don't tell you the whole story, like the part where they didn't do their part because they were supposed to follow a system, a process or whatever, and they only half did it. And so they got the results based on their effort. You don't put a lot of effort in, you don't get a lot out, but they don't tell you that part. And what I found was they too struggled with their self-worth. I really believe that they didn't have a strong enough belief in themselves that it could happen for them too. But, I digress. But anyway, so the more I began to dive into what I believe is my purpose, I truly believe it's my purpose, the more I began hearing those voices in my head again. So when you hear those things, or when I heard those things for years and years and years, those thoughts and repeated and things like that, they begin to create deep grooves of memory in your mind. And anytime you steer off that usual path, or, you try to do something different, your mind will sabotage. It tries to protect you. That muscle memory is what we call it, by putting you back on the path of least resistance. But the key is that you have to create new grooves of new belief so that the new belief then becomes your default setting. So how do you do that, you may ask? And I'm glad you asked. Anytime those old beliefs come to mind, you have to ask yourself a question. One of the most important questions is this true for me right now? I don't care if it was true 5 years ago. Is it true for you right now? And another question you need to ask is, can I find evidence in my life that disproves that old thought, idea, or belief? For instance, if somebody said something to you that you'll never be anything, you have to ask yourself, is this true? At this point in your life, I'm sure that you've held a job. That means that you did something. You were somebody, a supervisor, an employee, a manager, a boss, whatever it was. If you've overcome some sort of hardship or adversity, look, you rose above the occasion, the challenge, and you made it. That means you did something. You are somebody. If you've ever had to care for somebody or provide for somebody, that means you are something. You've been a caregiver. You've given up your time. You've been kind, all kinds of things. So even if there are things that were true back then, is it true now? And more importantly, you have to decide whether the buck stops here. And I said that a few times. I was like, you know what? The buck stops here. In my prayer time, the buck stops here. That this will no longer be my truth, my testimony, my destiny, or anything else. The buck stops here. And that's what happened for me. I started changing my can'ts into watch me work. People that know me, they know the more you challenge and disprove those old and limiting beliefs, the more you create those deep grooves of positivity and possibility. And possibility. I started saying, don't believe me, just watch. I could show you better than I could tell you. And you'll begin to dream more. You'll begin to dream bigger and push yourself to do more. And when this happens, the only result that can be is that you're better today than you were yesterday. Now multiply that thought over the next week, over the next month, over the next year, over the next decade. How much better can you be if you keep creating new beliefs, keep rising to the challenge, keep conquering your fears and living out your dreams? How much better will you be? If you keep going, you will be exponentially better. But many people get overwhelmed with the big goal. Just know this, the fastest way to your goal is one milestone at a time. So when I decided to move in the direction of my dreams, opportunities came flooding towards me. Y'all, I didn't even get it out of my mouth good enough to tell people what I did before people were referring them to me. And it was almost as if they were waiting for me to say yes to my own dream. And then when I finally said yes, it was like they was like, we waiting for the yes. As soon as the yes came, it was like, boom, here we are. And I got overwhelmed. I'll be honest, I got overwhelmed. I think my brain went into shutdown mode. I couldn't operate in my gift and I almost gave up. But thankfully, I had somebody in my corner who believed in me. And I had to operate on borrowed belief, on his belief, to get me over the hump that was myself, my limiting beliefs, my all those things. Am I good enough? Are they going to want to pay me what I'm worth? And then I had to rid myself of the guilt of having more. So once all of my debts were paid, I understood then all of a sudden it came to me like, I don't owe anybody anything. I don't owe them anything more than I owe myself. And I owed it to myself to get better. I owed it to myself to be an example for my kids. And I owed it to my kids for me to be an example to them. I also owed it to others to help them, to teach them what I learned along the way. So now let me put a pin in this for a minute. So I love helping people who are down and out. But I realized that some people don't really want help. They want a handout. They don't want to learn what it takes to be successful for themselves because they haven't decided that success was possible for them too. And no one now can put me on a guilt trip that I don't voluntarily choose to take. Okay. I have learned that the investment that I made in myself is worth something. It's worth something. And you too can choose success if you believe you're worth it. And so I had to change my surroundings. I don't hang out with the same people I used to hang out with. I'm not going in the same direction I used to go with. And let me also say this too. So I'm not the type to go in and block people or disown them or cut them off and make a big announcement about them. I just don't give them that much energy. And I don't allow them to take up too much space in my life, period. Because I'm making space for people who want more. I need to be around people who want more, who know where I'm headed and want to pour into me so that they fill me up and I can pour into somebody else. I want to be around people who know the struggle, who understand the struggle. And they see me trying to grind, and then they give me the necessary cheat codes to make it easier for me to get where I need to go. Now, hear me clearly. I didn't say easy. I said easier. All right? Because I still have to do the work. I need to be also in proximity to people who have an upward mindset and a higher level of awareness. And I'm not talking about the proximity that you find on Google, where I can Google the distance between 2 points or from my house to that person's house. That's not the proximity I'm talking about. I'm talking about the proximity you get when you show up, you show out, you do the work, you get the referrals, and then you become invited into the inner circle. That proximity cannot be bought. You can't even really find it. You have to earn it. And once you earn it, it is invaluable. You have to earn your spot at the table. And I hear this a lot. Well, if they don't invite me to the table, I'll be on my own. And I say, awesome. You should. Everybody should have their own. But you also have to remember that people don't want to invest where there is no result. When you start having results, people and the right people will show up. But then there's also some people that will show up and try to ride your coattails. So you got to be careful about that because they don't understand what real proximity is. They still think that just because you've been around or you've known them from back in the day, that you owe them some of your success. And that's not true. And another hard lesson, being a charity will keep you broke. Know the difference between a weight and a well. One brings you down, the other one keeps you afloat. Get around people who will throw you a life vest when you find yourself out there floundering. And last, I'll just talk about this, but you got to reevaluate your relationship with money. We often hear your net worth will determine your net worth, but you also have to understand that your net worth is tied to your self-worth. And if you don't believe that you're worth more, you won't charge more. And you'll consistently undervalue your time, talents, and skills. And guess what? Other people will also undervalue your time, talents, and your skills. So you got to be confident in making that sale if you're going to make it. And my mentor says a sale is a transfer of emotions. So if you're not confident about what you're worth, do you think your clients are going to be? I'm just going to answer it for you. The answer is no. If you devalue you, others will devalue you, and that affects your net worth. So take the time out, write down the word money, then list all of the things that come to mind, good and bad, as it relates to money. Don't judge the thought, just write them all down. And then later, in a moment of reflection, go back and ask yourself, read that list, ask yourself in each one, why you feel that way or where that thought came from. And if you find a reason that it's untrue, discard the old thought and create a new belief. Sometimes you can create these new beliefs by, coming up with mantras about money. One that you possibly can say is, instead of something like, oh, I just work so hard all the time, but I'm always broke, I don't never have no money, say, I'm giving good effort, and the money will flow in equal proportion to the effort I put out. Now, I'm gonna caution you, okay? Because this one will make you challenge whether you're really working hard and being productive or just working hard just to say you're busy. There is a difference. Words matter. So reframe your words and rebuild a healthy relationship with money. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. We have to believe that we are worthy of success, worthy of abundance, and worthy of money. And we also have to sometimes remind ourselves that money is necessary to sustain life. Money is in abundance all around us, and it's waiting for us to tap into our inheritance. Money allows us to do more, to give more, to create more. It creates a freedom in us in so many areas of our lives. And it's just waiting for us to do that. And money, with it comes responsibility. There's a responsibility to earn it, to maintain it, to be a good steward of it, to multiply it, to have a level of humility about it and gratitude for having it. And then there's a responsibility to put it to good use, whatever that means to you. But first, you have to make a decision that you want to change your mind about money, that you want to do what it takes to bring in money, and you want to change your life by welcoming in money. It all starts with a decision. Success is a decision. So make the decision today to reevaluate and rekindle your relationship with money in a healthy way. I'm Kamille Thomas, and I want to thank you for giving me your time and attention. I pray that something that I said today will help you to break that money barrier to success. So you all enjoy the conference and take care.
Oh, how wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. She reminded us that success is a choice. And as she took us through her journey with money, it took me back to so many happenings that shaped my beliefs about money. And we don't have the time to go into them all right now. But I encourage you to stay tuned to this channel, be a subscriber of Building Wealth Together, and you will hear these stories over time, because it really is our mindset that limits us. The business know-how doesn't limit you. The education of your past doesn't limit you. Your medical conditions, that doesn't limit you. The amount of debt you might be in doesn't limit you. What your ex did to you doesn't limit you. There's nothing that limits you if God is with you. You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. And if I can succeed coming from 800 something thousand dollars of debt, being a divorced single Black mom in the military, I can overcome all that to be where I am today. You can overcome anything. And so I want to thank Kamille again for participating. I think her mom is still on the line. I want to thank her mom for rearing such a wonderful young woman. And you can hear the story of struggle, and not everybody can still be a good parent to their kids. And I know we're not all perfect. I'm sure there's some thises and some that's that we have to overcome and get over, but not all of us. Not all of us who come through those kinds of situations can still produce children who are fine, upstanding members of society. Not just one, but I think Miss Jackie has 5 kids. So my hat's off to her. All right, what we're going to do now is we're going to switch over to the broadcast. So you're going to get to see more broadcast content that I'm able to present to you. We have so much more content for you today that it's split up into 3 broadcast rooms. You're going to go to womenswealthsummitlive.com. We're going to try to stream it to my Facebook, but just in case, we don't want to depend on technology, but just in case, you can go to womenswealthsummitlive.com. Now, if you want to parse through some of these things and really get those thought nuggets, or you were listening while you were at work and you missed half the talk, make sure you go to Women's Wealth VIP. The original price for upgrading was $199, as y'all remember from most of my conferences, but we decided to drop the price while we're in session today. It's only $99. womenswealthvip.com. You get all of the recordings plus the bonus recordings that are in the portal already ready for you while we process these. And you can go to womenswealthsummit.com to continue today's conversation in our 3 different breakout rooms at womenswealthsummit.com. I want to thank you all who've been watching and participating. It means the world to me. All right, y'all take care and be blessed.